And good evening, everyone. Welcome to week 22. And as you can see, it is a special weekend. For those who are unaware, what the fuck is wrong with you? For those in the US, this Sunday is Veterans Day. For other parts of the world, it is known as Remembrance Day, which, as you can see, we are all inclusive on this panel when it comes to military service. And being service members ourselves, we know what each of us has gone through, which is why, as you can see in the description, we have links to both support the channel and also organizations that we hold dear, especially 22 Kill, the organization bringing awareness to just how prevalent suicide is in today's veteran community. And with it being Veterans Weekend, we want to make sure that everyone knows that they are appreciated for what sacrifices that they have made. And we have someone on the panel who would like to say something towards that effect.
Well, in the beginning, I was just going to wing it. I'm still winging it, but I'd like to thank each and one of you for your service, for what you have done. It lets me, shit talk on the internet and not be afraid of consequences to what I say by some government authority. So, thank you. That's all I had.
And with that, what was it specifically that you wanted to bring up this evening, Alan?
Can you put up the image the map image that I posted on the Discord?
That is a good question. I will actually have to reopen Discord to bring it up. My apologies.
Sorry about that. Should have thought to mention it beforehand.
Well, we were having quite the conversation before as well, so.
Yeah, it kind of got in the way, didn't it?
It tends to happen, and that's another thing. So for those in the audience listening, there has been an update to the Patreon to where you can get read-only access to the Discord server for the veterans, our memes, topic ideas, all of that fun shit. You can get a peek at everything just for $1 a month. All right. And was it? There it was. Actually, no, it's not there. Which section did you put it in?
I put it in the crew section.
Because I did not see it in there.
Speaking of the read-only,
there's been a load of stuff posted since.
Okay, that's probably what it is.
It was last
It's a bit of a
night.
scroll up.
Ah, there it is. All right.
Speaking of the view-only role, with this you will have access to the memes channel, as Jared said. The memes channel is not safe for work or not safe for life, depending on how you see it. Some of the things that will be posted there, viewer discretion is advised.
And apologize people as it moves around, but all right, we do have the image on the screen now.
Brilliant. So, this map is a section of a British Army map from 1919, showing a section of the former Western Front on the Somme area.
Could you screenshot it for us?
Actually, yeah, give me a second.
Very professional we are.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? We're doing things slightly different. That this is what happens when one of the helping hands is busy doing something else. Not saying that he's doing anything particular with an organ, but
Hey, listen, my entire job here is to masturbate and to wait, to the bottom of the line about an hour before the show begins and then get shit done.
oh, I wasn't talking about you. I'm talking about the other one.
Oh, there's another one? Who's my partner? Who's my partner in crime? I didn't know I had one.
Your budget?
Jay Brown. But anyways,
Okay.
as you were saying, Alan.
So this is a casualty map, okay, and it's basically the main part of the area that was fought over of the Battle of the Somme of 1916. The first day of which was the day that Britain lost more soldiers in one day than any other day. Each of those large lettered squares is 1,000 yards on a side. Each of those 1,000-yard squares is subdivided into 36 smaller 500-foot by 500-foot squares that are lettered. Sorry, numbered. And then they are each subdivided into 4 250-foot squares. Within those squares are some inked-in numbers. Each of those numbers represents the number of unidentified bodies, British or Allied bodies, found in that 250-foot square when the battlefield was cleared in 1919, after about 2.5 years of war. And if you look at some of those 250-foot squares, they have upwards of 750 bodies.
Holy shit.
Recovered. Some of those 500-foot squares have had 1,500 bodies found in them. You can more or less see where the fiercest parts of the battles were just by looking at the numbers. I mean, I'm sitting here and I can see we have one square with 829 bodies found.
Yeah, that was one that caught my attention, which is why I zoomed in to show that just right here between this small area was 829, and right next to it was 702.
And below it, 749 and 207. And this is just one very small part of the Western Front. The memorial at Ypres, nearly 57,000 names. That's a little bit further north into Belgium. That 57,000 names on the Ypres Memorial, again, the men with no known grave. That doesn't include those who have a memorial in the many Commonwealth War Graves Commission cemeteries.
Wait, and this is just the casualty numbers of unidentified?
Unidentified.
Jeez.
So this map dates to 1919. So this is a year after the fighting finished. Remember that although the first battle of the Somme was June 1916, that ground continued to be fought over for another 2 years. And as far as I'm aware, that is just Allied.
Oh, and not even the German, Austrian side. Wow. And their numbers were just as high.
As big, just as high. I mean, they lived and died in shit and muck for 4 years on the Western Front, and both sides suffered equally as badly. I mean, it wasn't called the war to end all wars for nothing.
And yet it didn't. But you could definitely see how over the span of, was it 5 years, with casualty list coming in, at times even higher than you see here of the known casualty list. Now, some people should understand, when we say casualty list from the military standpoint, we are not just talking service members who were killed. It is any injury that takes that body away from the fighting force is a casualty. So, but in this case of the unidentified bodies, these are remains. These are actual KIA, killed in action.
Well, these would have all been classed as missing, presumed killed. In fact, most of those bodies represent those who are still listed by the British as missing, presumed killed.
Yep.
I can't remember who he actually is, but there's a quote by Neville Chamberlain that states, "In war, whichever side may call itself the victor, there are no winners, but all are losers." This is, war is never a good thing. Only brilliant men find the way to not wage war. I think that's from Sun Tzu, The Art of War.
We had a saying in our company: nobody wants peace more than the guys who have to bleed for it.
Yeah, and I can attest to that.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. It's the thought or decision to expend a round of munitions, no matter the type, no matter the delivery platform, is never made lightly. There's always that thought of, how does this fit into the bigger puzzle? How does this affect what our ultimate goal truly is? And this is something that I've mentioned to a number of people for, God, at least 15 years now, since early on in my time on active duty, that there is an ethics training that all U.S. service members receive from early on. So no battlefield decisions that are made are done lightly. They may seem to be instinctive, they may seem to be quick, but that's part of what we are taught. That's part of what we have instilled in us, is such an attention to detail that a lot of things become second nature, become almost instinctive, but still have a foundation in reason and purpose.
And I think that at least today, in my environment in Denmark, it's way too often that I hear people talking about, war, conflict, as if it's war or conflict works in the same way that it's portrayed in most, if not all, Hollywood movies about war. We see a lot of soldiers constantly using fully automatic fire and just going at it. There are, of course, certain circumstances where ground troops use fully automatic. There's a specific reason in those instances. When we trained, there are only one specific person that was more or less allowed to use fully automatic under normal circumstances, and that is the guy who's carrying the light support weapon or heavy support weapon, or what do you call them in America? Squad. I can't remember. Squad automatic rifle. I can't remember.
Automatic rifleman.
Yeah, and that is to create suppressive fire. You do not move your index finger to the trigger finger unless you have unless you actually have a target acquired and you have identified it. Not only that, even if it's in a war, you are actually not allowed, not in Denmark at least, not allowed to open fire on a person that is shooting at you. If we, for example, can see kids in the background or adults in the background, where there's a good chance of us hitting them, then it's not allowed. Then it's not simply not allowed for us to fire. And it's ridiculous. It's fucking hard sometimes when people just keep throwing lead at you, and you really want to take them down, but you have to think about civilians that we are actually trying to save, to help out. Hollywood does fuck it up for many of us, at least for me anyway.
I was in the Gulf War on a tank. A tank has a 4-man crew. You have a driver who obviously drives, a loader who loads the main gun, tank commander who makes sure the tank is where it needs to be. He's looking for targets. He's doing all the commandery stuff. I was a gunner, and my job is to kill. And tanks are very effective at that. And I engaged a lot of targets. Now, I did not do anything illegal. I did not do anything immoral. But it wasn't until a few months after I got back to the States that I began to, in my brain, equate targets with human lives. And the guilt that hit me was overpowering. I'm looking at that map of that World War I map. It makes me wonder, how many bodies I left in the sand in Kuwait, in Kuwait. It's not like the movies. It is not like the movies. Not at all.
Yeah, it's very rare for a movie to get even close to accurate. And I think one of the ones that was actually able to stay as true to form, we actually have Tom Hanks to thank for it. Actually, there were 3 things. So first, the movie Saving Private Ryan, the display of the Normandy beach invasion that they had was the most accurate recreation they could. Now, granted, they toned it down in order to make it palatable to a movie audience, but it is still that as close to accurate as if it was documentary footage of what then a modern battlefield looked like. And they carried that over into the Band of Brothers miniseries and the Pacific miniseries that they did for the Marines that were doing island hopping. And the fact that we can actually have some of that available shows me that there are some people out there who want to give those sorts of sacrifices the credit they deserve and not glamorize it, but also not tastefully showing some of the brutality that we as service members did or potentially faced anytime we deployed.
And it's something I tell young kids that are thinking about enlisting. And I tell them this, not trying to talk them out of it, but just as something to keep in your brain. The military, I mean, yes, you can learn a lot of great skills that you can use to get yourself a leg up in the job field and defending your nation and democracy and yeah, great, fantastic. Those are all good things. Keep in mind that the military is about death. You're either a dealer of death or you're supporting those that are dealers in death. And you could get assigned to be a light bulb changer on a runway in the middle of Oklahoma somewhere. And the time may come when the man puts a rifle in your hand, sticks you on an airplane, sends you overseas and tells you to go kill the other guy. And by God, that's exactly what you do. Because that is what the military ultimately is about. That's why it exists. We kill and break things. We don't do it indiscriminately, but that is, when that's the bottom line. So, yeah, just.
Well, I've had similar conversations too, where with people who have had that question and have said that, oh, I've been thinking about joining, and I don't pull any punches. I tell them the good, but I also give them the bad, and with the network of people that I know, both inside my actual family, my actual blood relations, and outside, I can give enough of a taste of all the branches from being one of those who puts your own rights aside to make sure that others have them. Because in the US, that really is the biggest thing in the oath of enlistment and the oath of appointment for the officers is we are putting aside our actual constitutional rights so we can defend those of others. Even if you're only doing it for a 4-year hitch to get some benefit on the back end that you may be able to use, great, but still, that's secondary. If that is your primary purpose for being there, you're not going to be effective. You're not going to perform in the manner that you actually need to not just survive, but be an effective member of the team.
Yep. Absolutely.
And also, I mean, for me, the National Guard, practically the same as the Army. They can teach you many things, but one thing they cannot teach you, one thing they can only try to prepare you on, is how you will react. Not just in a case where a child is pointing an AK-47 or whatever it is at you, but also the emotions that sometimes arise, when your engagement has ended and you're back in at base camp, and you're talking about it, going through what happened. Usually it's the ability to, whatever your reaction will be, to not to keep it yourself, but suppress it enough so that you can do your job in protecting your fellow soldiers and other people around you, and then talk about it at the debrief after, when you come back to the to your compound. And that's sometimes one of the places where you don't feel pressured to keep it all to keep it bottled up. And I mean, the first time that I experienced big burly men bawling their eyes out over an incident that happened where a 9-year-old child had seen her father being shot after he was shooting at us. I wasn't there myself, but where she, in desperation, picked up the rifle, even though the interpreter continuously tried to talk her out of picking it up, and they had to shoot her. Those things, they're not fun, but you have to talk about it. It's just, I mean, I hate the word illegal combatant, as the world started hearing that term being used for detainees and not prisoners at Guantanamo Bay. I detest that term, but I see why now. An enemy is an entity that is somewhat easily identified, but in cases where it's not one country's army against another country's army, all, even kids, can be a threat. Even though we don't want to, but if it comes to it, then we have to do something about it. It's not exactly the easiest thing to talk about, but some people can deal with it, some can't. When I found out that when I was in Afghanistan, we came home from an engagement, one of the ways, after a debrief, that helped us cope with some of the things we saw. Now, I didn't personally, in my squad, we didn't have the experience of, shooting a child or young adults, yes, but not a child. But still, some of the horrible things that we had to do every now and then. One of the ways we dealt with it was to, when we went back, to just play grab ass, basically. Some of us deal with it by telling jokes, get with horrible gallows humor. Some of us play cards. Some of us play, the most violent computer games you can imagine for fun. It's not exactly for fun, but it's a way of it's in place of a punching bag. Although some people do use a punching bag instead, but
It's a cathartic thing.
yeah, I mean, in our company, we try to well, we were instructed to try and not use the gym to do it because it's too easy to go in there alone and just pull the weights until you snap a tendon or break yourself. It's something you have to do as a family. The guys you fight with, they're not just colleagues, not just friends, they are family. That's the most important thing, to have someone to talk to. I mean, after I came back, I didn't. Well, in the beginning, I did have someone to talk to. I mean, I was compelled to talk to, therapists, and that did definitely help. But I'm not the kind of person that, that has a lot of friends. I'm a what do you call it? A secluded person. I don't interact well with other people, in physical form. It's just not who I am. And that turned out to be a bad thing. I have been in a very bad place. No drugs or anything, but yeah, I won't call myself suicidal, but one or two times I have been there with those thoughts, and that is the worst part you can imagine. But you just have to force yourself to talk to somebody about it. In my case, it wasn't my parents. They did support me, but I mean, they just couldn't handle that stuff. I mean, every single time I, talk them over a satellite phone or whatever it was. Now, of course, we can't talk about what we're actually doing down there. It's obvious. But when it starts, a conversation starts going to a personal conversation about what I experience, and I mean, I can hear their panic in their breath. They don't want to talk about it. It's even to them, it's too painful. Yeah. But thankfully, I did eventually find some other friends. Where in Copenhagen, where I used to live. They weren't veterans themselves, but one of them had a son who was killed in the line of duty as a police officer in Australia, I think it was. He helped me through it. He wouldn't leave me alone, literally. Sometimes to the point where I started thinking about punching him. But
sometimes those are the best types of friends that you can ever have.
Exactly.
You can always punch me, Bo.
The best kind of friend you can have is the one who is not afraid of confronting you when you're in the wrong. When you are riding on a thin edge, and you can't think clearly, someone else has to do it for you. So, but still, I'm not good with other people, in physical form. It's easier when you can't see somebody, I guess. But I am trying to get over it, and I am at the moment. I no longer consider my mental health as my biggest problem anymore. But of course, I have good days, bad days. Thankfully, 90% of it today is good. Every now and then something does trigger it. Sometimes it's a movie, sometimes it's just the smell of gunpowder, or the smell of a rotting rat, rotting flesh. worst part is when you're in in town on the high streets, or in a place with a lot of people, and you start having a panic attack. For me, one of the things that can help is either put on some headphones and put on some loud music, or put in some earplugs and just walk home as fast as humanly possible. And even there, when kids are around and they make a lot of noise, that's somewhat acceptable. But in those cases, just someone dropping dropping something on the ground that makes a sharp sound, that freaks me out. That's that's where I sometimes sadly think about going for the alcohol to help out. Thankfully, I'm not an alcoholic, but I'm constantly in fear of becoming one. But everybody tries to deal with it their own way. Not all of them are the correct way.
My drug of choice was isolation. And I just shut myself off from the entire world.
And even for me, as a very private person in that regard, even to me, it's just the bad thing to do. So for a short period, yeah, sure, but where do you put the line as to how long you can cover yourself up, or dig yourself in?
Well, actually, I'm kind of dug in now. I finally, my PTSD has gotten quite a bit better, but this is after 2 decades of individual therapy and group therapy and a 6-week inpatient program and a number of other things. But what it finally took for me was getting the hell out of the city and moving way the hell out into the middle of the country. The closest town to me that has a population over 10,000 is over 150 miles away. I'm about as rural as you get. My nearest neighbors are a half mile away, and that's to the north and the south. East and west, I have no idea how far you'd have to go to find a neighbor. But I bunker in, I bunker down, and I, like you, I don't handle people real well, and I have very few friends. The ones I do have are good friends, but I have very few of them, and I don't generally talk to people unless I don't generally talk to people because they don't understand where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm. That is one of the mountains you have to climb.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend that and she used to be married to a Marine, and I was starting to develop problems, and started going to counseling for it, and we got into an argument over something or the other, and I said, no, I have to go to my weekly group, and she says, why can't you just get over it? And so I arranged to bring her to the vet center and had my counselor talk to her. And the way he explained this to her is, you know, imagine. But he explained PTSD to her as best he possibly could, and he explained, um, how, this is not something that you can just get over. This is actually, PTSD has a neurological element to it. It's not just an emotional element. There's a neurological element to it as well. You can map out somebody's brain waves and go, yep, there's markers for PTSD right there. And we got back home that night, and she said, I still don't understand why you can't just get over this. Yep.
Speaking to the neurological side of it, I think some people don't realize that that level of stress, that level of intensity for that duration will quite literally rewire your brain. It's not a passing thing. It's not, oh, someone pissed me off and now they're not in my life anymore. No, it physically affects you. It physically changes you in a way that even medical sciences still don't fully understand.
Yep. Yeah, it's I was fortunate though. My father is a Marine tanker from Vietnam, and the M60 that I had was very, very similar to the M48 he had. In fact, I was in the same battalion he was in, and so he understood where I was coming from. Now we have very in some ways we have very similar experiences. In other ways, we have experiences that neither one of us can comprehend the other. But when I started going to group, the vast majority of guys at group were Vietnam vets. There was only a handful of Gulf War vets in the group. But they welcomed us with open arms. And immediately, one of the first things they taught us was, a saying that they have: "We all walk the same road. We each took a different path." And trauma is trauma, and it there was I have 100 hours of combat experience, and that's it. I have no no frame of reference to know what it's like to walk through a jungle not knowing if there's a bad guy not 20 yards away from you to your left or right. By the same token, these guys have no frame of reference to know what it's like to sit on a ridgeline and know that there is an entire armored regiment rolling down a pass, all of them gunning for you, and just being a company to hold that flank. It's there's but the trauma is the same. The way it affects the brain is the same. And your brain gets rewired into thinking. One of the ways the brain gets rewired is it has to you have to react immediately, and you have to be able to shut down your emotions immediately, and do what needs to be done. And I remember for me, it was like, it felt like feeling every single emotion I have ever felt in my entire life all at the same time, with the volume cranked all the way up.
Hmm.
And you can't, the rational part of your brain can't function. And it takes a step back to the back of your brain, sitting there going, your conscious self steps back and goes, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
Mm.
And the training takes over.
Yeah, it's a mix of training taking over and the Neanderthal brain going into self-preservation mode.
Yep.
Mixed with a bit of panic. It heightens your concentration skills, hopefully.
Yeah. And I was good at my job, and I reveled in it. And that's where 90% of my guilt comes from, is in
the fact that you liked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that's
but-
where I experience people just not getting it. Talking about war being, I mean, one of the worst things you can ask somebody that you don't know, if you find out a person is a veteran, war veteran, is, oh, so have you killed someone? Don't ever ask that. Please.
It's a quick way to get punched.
Yeah. Even if if you really feel compelled to ask, dude, as nicely as humanly possible, don't go up and use it as the first question. It's just not a good thing.
Nope.
And also, I mean, if you are in a conversation with a veteran and you talk about, well, yeah, killing people is sadly in far most of the cases is inevitable, and it's a horrible thing. But I am proud to have served. Some people just can't, in their mind, just can't mix those two sentences in their head and see it as something that what do you call it, is realistic. Yes, I mean, in some people's minds, they're thinking, oh, you kill people, oh, and you said you like it or you loved it, oh, you masochist, you asshole. I mean, it's just, again, there's so many people who just don't understand. And when people say, I don't want to talk to anyone about these kinds of things unless it's a fellow veteran, because you just won't get it. There is a reason why most of us say that.
Yeah. Well, we do have two perfectly timed questions from the chat. Let's actually go ahead and start with the one from Marvel Girl. How do you even move? Is it really just the training kicks in, like muscle memory? And she goes on to say that sounds terrifying. It really, for the Navy side of it, we weren't dealing with as much frontline, super uber high stress, but we still had that reacting in the appropriate manner despite the stress drilled into us from day one. And it really does become that almost instinctive muscle memory type of training kicking in. Is like, no, I need to get this done. This is how I do it. And it is like a switch. You do have to shut off certain sensory inputs in order to get the job done.
Yeah. And for my training, specifically in conducting warfare in a urban environment, in a city environment, the one thing that they keep pounding into your brain is either you move or you die. That the most dangerous thing in an urban environment is to not move. It's so easy. There's so many places for someone to hide and to outflank someone, that if you do not move, you will die. So I mean, that is pounded into you. So it is going back to training, just not turning off your ability to think, but it does go back to the your training. Jared, do you have one of those? I think I sent you one of those pictures where you see an injured. I can't remember if it's a Marine that has been wounded in his leg, and he's actually holding his sidearm and still manages to have his index finger extended. I mean, that is a good way of, in picture form of describing how your basic training is pounded into you, so that you are able to put the pain to the side and still operate as a soldier. I can't remember how far back I shared it on our Discord.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I can't remember either, but I do remember seeing the image, and if it was long enough, it will show up in the slideshow. And actually, so sorry, Ash, we had a follow up. We'll get to that first. Do you think the fact that the ship, plane, etc., could get hit, and do you think of the fact that, it's one of those, and Tech and Jay can also speak to this as well from a different standpoint, as they were both subfleet. I was on an aircraft carrier, so I knew there is a big old target on our back when we went out into the water, because the ship I was on was the capital ship, was the high value target because of what our capabilities were. And that's where you kind of have to put some of the trepidation aside and trust the ships in the battle group with us to do their job. If they are doing their job, then the potential risk for the carrier was significantly lower, in theory, in the way we were training and what we were preparing for. It's been so long since there's been a full-on naval engagement that we really don't know how effective those tactics are going to actually play out to be. But it really is something you accept the risk. You acknowledge that, yeah, we are the high value target, but that also plays into our training. Every week, sometimes a couple times a week when we were underway, we would do drills. We would do training where our damage control teams get practice on how to put up certain types of shoring, how to deal with flooding, how to deal with certain types of damage to the ship in such a way to keep the ship operating and floating. And again, you have to trust the rest of the team members in order for something like that to be effective.
Yeah, on a tank, like I said, we got a 4-man crew, and we have to work as one. We have to work with this with a single mind, with a single purpose. And that was one of the issues we had in the Gulf, is that my loader and driver were both boots, straight out of tank school. Did not have a single opportunity to even go on a CAX with us. They were thrust straight into the shit. And so we had to train them on the fly. And my loader took some lumps, but he turned out to be a good loader. He was a little slow on the uptake at first, but he came around, and he was a good loader. And same with my driver. But they, you have to function as a team. You have to trust the other guy to do what he's supposed to do, in order to do your job. because if you're looking over your shoulder, you're not focused on what the hell you're supposed to be doing. So yeah, and you know, being on ship, I recall having some drills and you know, being crammed down in the damn berthing area of an LST, and you know, them running a drill, general quarters, and whatever in the hell the Navy says after that, all the stuff. And then I hear vampire, vampire, vampire. And I had vampire. What the hell's a vampire?
Incoming missile.
Yep.
And then I heard that that Sea Whiz rip off. And it sounded just like a chainsaw. And but yeah, it's you gotta, you know, a ship is you know, a tank has got to, as far as the crew is concerned, it's just like a ship in miniature. You've all got to work as a damn team. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So, and that's why training becomes so important. And you know, when the stress levels go high, you know, the brain, the cognitive part of your brain that is normally 99% of the time up there in your forebrain, it don't work no more. And you've got to let the training take over. You've got to let the muscle memory take over. You've got to let your mouth say the words that need to be said and your hands do the things that they need to do. So that
All of my engaging experiences are were very Nintendo Warfare-esque. So at the time, it was very easy to disconnect myself. But after the fact, it becomes difficult.
Yep. Yeah, it's not till later that your brain starts putting things together, because that's part of that's another survival instinct. You know, the horrors of war. Your brain will not make those cognitive connections because, you know, in an attempt at self-preservation. And I have distinct holes in my memory where I simply don't remember doing things. I know I did them, and I remember remembering, if that makes any sense. But I know that I have reached an impasse with my counselors, which is why I don't see them anymore. I've gotten as good as I'm going to get. And my counselors keep telling me that I need to remember this stuff in order to fully heal, if you will. And I flat out refuse. I figure my brain has blanked this shit out for a reason, and I have no desire to go poking in that one. So, yeah, you have to. Your brain compartmentalizes, and it this particular bit of it wasn't until the ground war happened in the end of February, March, April, maybe May, I'm guessing. So maybe 3 months later is when my brain finally started putting together that I was shooting at people.
Yeah, because in the moment you're looking at the silhouette of your combatant tank, your target. You're not thinking about, well, there's a crew inside there, just like I'm inside this.
Yeah, it's more or less weapon.
I didn't. I didn't even have that because everything I was doing was like data and electronics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you don't think about it after the fact that, oh, I was firing this. It means it was going to be hitting. We were probably going to be striking this type of target. I don't even necessarily know the exact target it's going to.
Oh yeah,
And-
because
and-
they have all that stuff coded.
Everything's extremely compartmentalized to the point where you don't even know specifically what you're firing at.
Mm-hmm. And
Imagine-
also,
imagine-
in what way does that mean that a high altitude bomber crew doesn't have the same type of
They
issues?
would know more than that.
Yeah, but still, I mean, they don't get to see, to be blunt and graphical.
Yeah,
They don't get to
to some
see
extent. But
body parts all over the place.
yeah, to that extent, yeah. But I mean, at least they know a roundabout where their bomb is dropping. You know, in my case, I'm getting the missile to a landfall waypoint. I'm done with it.
I have a question.
Well, imagine. Go ahead.
With the advancements within technology, what's your guys' opinion on drone warfare?
On what warfare?
Drone.
Drones.
Drone. Well,
No different, really, than anything else.
and
Yeah.
it depends. I mean, there's different types of warfare
Yeah.
using drones. I mean, surveillance to some extent, I guess, is also warfare.
I think what he's more asking about is like the UCAV, the unmanned combat aerial vehicle, like the Reaper, where your pilot is miles behind the front line, but still controlling the craft that's actually delivering the payload.
Well,
Sort of like the AC-130 video game feedback that you see. I'm actually pretty sure that some drone systems use an Xbox 360 controller.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I have seen, yeah, and that's possible. I really don't know. Personally, I'm all in favor of drones. You still have a human pilot. Okay, you still have a human being in direct control of that aircraft. Except that person is, number one, that person is isolated away from the vehicle. So if the vehicle gets shot down, you know, you still have, you've just lost the piece of equipment. You haven't lost the human being along with it. Secondly, a drone, because you do not have a pink fleshy thing inside of that aircraft can perform aerial maneuvers that a manned aircraft simply cannot do. So
Yeah, you can actually get to the full stress of the airframe instead of having to limit it for the operator.
Yep. There are downsides though, and one of the downsides is that a human pilot has a much better situational awareness than a guy sitting, you know, in front of a remote control, you know, under a mountain in, you know, Cheyenne, Wyoming or somewhere. So yeah, the other disadvantage is that you know, that aircraft is controlled by radio, and radios can be jammed. And if you
They can be jammed, signals can be hacked, and that's one of the biggest security risks of the unmanned vehicle realm is how do you hardware protect the control lines, that way it isn't hijacked by another entity.
Yep, absolutely. Now, yeah, you're showing a picture right here of a drone operator. Now,
Yeah, the Reaper.
Looking at, he's looking at a TV screen. You know, he's playing a video game. If he was actually sitting in the pilot's seat, he would be able to rotate his head and have a much better situational awareness of what the hell's going on around him, rather than having to rely solely on these instruments.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But so that's why I don't think drones will ever replace manned aerial aircraft, but they certainly do have
Well,
their uses.
They have their role.
that engagement that you're talking about with civilian technology now with VR, that could definitely be possible.
Possible.
It'll get closer, but it'll never be like this exact. It'll
Yeah.
never be the same whole thing.
The problem with the VR interface is the amount of bandwidth required to give that sensor data so it is as seamless as possible, because the reaction time to stimulus for a pilot needs to be quicker than you can blink. Otherwise, you're going to see something that the aircraft has no time to react to. It doesn't matter how quickly you can react to it. If the signal delay is just too far out of spec, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's never going to be possible with physics. With not even,
With
1,000 years from now, there will always be a signal delay.
Yep.
I look at drone. I think drones are beneficial. I look at them as kind of fitting that niche between. You're good. There's gonna be cases where you're actually going to need a pilot there, like in the actual area.
But not for.
At the same time, the drone's going to be somewhat more beneficial than a lot of other smart weapons, because you still have an intelligent moral agent in control of the craft. I mean, sure, a lot of smart weapons you could do, remote disables, but
again, signal delay and sensor data delay becomes prevalent.
What if
someone that can make decisions on site?
Yeah.
With advanced neural networks, I could see it being where we get to the point where there would be no communication with the drone. The drone would be given an order on the ground, and then it would then take off, do its order, and then come back, all on its own, closed, circuited within its own entity.
I don't have any practical experience at all with the drones, but for example, the MQ-9 Reaper drone that we just saw a control container. I mean, they're just basically shipping containers that have been kitted out with the control hardware needed. Today, they can, for example, the Global Hawk drone. That's only a surveillance drone, but that thing is capable of staying aloft for well over 24 hours, and they don't use a pilot to control that thing all the time. They put in routes, and so that it'll take off with a pilot via direct VHF or UHF, and then a satellite link will take over, but it will fly autonomously to the designated area for its surveillance operation.
Yep.
And there you can still control the drone there, but it's via satellite. The Reaper works the same way. You can put an autopilot on it, so it'll fly on its own to the area that it's needed. But I'm trying to find out how much delay there is, but I can imagine that it could get up to 10 seconds maybe.
No.
The idea behind my question is part of it being autonomous, eventually to the point where AI would be doing the, automatic
Firing targets.
the automatic reaction to combat.
Yeah, I don't see that coming in the next 50 years.
Yeah, I don't see that being, not so much that it won't be possible, because we do have that identification topology available. It's just that we don't use it because we want that human agent, that moral agent, to make the decision, not a computer program, not an algorithm that can be messed with, that can be tampered with.
And that's also
if the algorithm If it's let's say just a BIOS update on the computer of the drone. The drone's completely within its own closed circuit. There's no incoming connections. There's no outgoing connections. You hit start, it goes, does the mission, it comes back.
Yeah, but it's still.
I'd be
of firing someone. It's not possible at the moment. It's just not. Yes.
I said I would be okay with AI as far as, like, let's say you're using surveillance drones. I could see AI for that. Any type of drone that can do an attack, I'd be a problem with AI in that case.
Yeah.
I'd be concerned about
the big
something that didn't have any kind of
called A Boy and His Tank. And great book, fun book. Doesn't bear any resemblance to reality whatsoever. But there's the at the beginning of the book, you have this kid on this. He's poor. He's got no money. There's a war coming up. They're taking recruits, and so he decides to enlist in the Armored Corps. And so he walks up and says he wants to enlist, and the guy gives him a quick physical and says okay. And then this sergeant says, tank number blah 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 blah, come forward. And this tank rolls up, and he swears in the tank. And the tank says, I swear blah 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 blah. And all right, open up. And the tank opens up, slides out this kind of coffin looking thing, and tells the kid to climb in, and says, wait a minute, why aren't you swearing me in? He says, we swore in the tank, that's good enough. And so well, then what am I for? What am I here for? Is designating targets. The tank has a full AI and can do everything. It can aim the gun, fire the gun, it can drive, it can do all this other kind of stuff. It can teach the kid in an artificial environment, give him all the training he needs, but they still needed a human being to pick what to shoot at.
The simple truth is that, in the American Civil War, or even further back around the world, it was the army of one country against an army of the other country. It was very easy to distinguish between your soldiers and the enemy's soldiers. These days, it's not that easy because you don't. For example, the so-called war on terror in Afghanistan. You don't have a well-organized and uniformed enemy to fight. They are Taliban are experts in disguising themselves to make an AI, make the decision on who's who. You just can't.
Even another example, Bo, would be within the Ukraine, the Russian military invading Ukraine under,
Of course, that you have the rogue. For example, the Crim conflict, where allegedly, I'm saying allegedly because I don't know enough to say whether it's true or not, but where Russia allegedly inserted some of their armed forces as if they were civilians to encourage the locals to band together and fight, against the idea that Crim is not Russian anymore. My English is going bad here, but it's a challenge. It's just simply a challenge between a challenge to distinguish between a combatant and a civilian. And there's a moral issue here, but if you relinquish the choice between fighting, to drop a bomb, for example, or not dropping a bomb on someone, it's a moral question of, if this goes wrong, if a drone, and an automated drone using AI manages to drop a bomb on innocent people. Who gets the blame? And that's another difficult thing.
Yep. Unconventional warfare is
A nightmare.
yeah. We had, if we, we're invading Kuwait and pushing the Iraqis out of Kuwait, and so we're rounding up everybody in front of us, and some of them are going to be Kuwaitis, known Kuwaitis, and we had separate, two separate encampments, Kuwaitis and Iraqis, and if we caught somebody that we weren't sure of, we put them in with the Kuwaitis. We may not be sure, but the Kuwaitis sure as hell knew. And if this guy was smart and saw us moving him over to the Kuwaiti camp, he'd say, no. I'm an Iraqi soldier. I go over there. Because the Kuwaitis would tear his ass limb from limb. You have to have that human element in there to make judgment calls. Yeah, you just you can't have an AI making those kinds of decisions. Even in sci-fi, you can't have AIs making those kinds of decisions. I can't envision any scenario where I would want a machine deciding who lives and dies.
I mean, at the moment, we can barely even get a car AI to make those sorts of decisions.
Yeah.
Just for driving on the road.
Yeah. I honestly don't think that it will happen until we're able to create a self-aware a self-aware computer or AI.
Thou shalt not make machine with the likeness of a human mind.
Talking about all this AI reminds me of the movie Stealth.
God should have gave that as a commandment unless Satan's AI.
Wait, no. That commandment is directly from the Bible. Granted, it's the Orange Catholic Bible, but it's still a Bible.
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that.
I'll open the pod bay door.
Except for you, Piggy. Is it okay to thank someone for their service? I feel like it puts them on the spot a bit.
Now I have to answer this question.
Well, again, it's an answer you can't. No, it's a question you can't answer. Respectfully.
I don't have a problem with it, but again, the wanting to offer my gratitude to each and every one of you guys for your service, and also for being here today in this chat. This actually means quite a bit to me. So, thanks, guys.
Yeah, think nothing of it. Or I should say, back to you again.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I find it depends on how it's said. It can feel like it's putting people on the spot, like Ash is asking. However, if it's done tactfully, and the meaning is sincere, most soldiers and sailors don't have an issue with it, from what I've seen, especially in my area of Washington, where I'm right next to a college that is very social justice oriented and very progressive, almost to the point of beyond democratic socialism. And we're also happen to have a lot of airmen from the Air Force and a lot of Army soldiers, because we're right next to Joint Base Lewis McChord. So I I can see why some people are hesitant to ask in my area or say it in my area when they see a service member, but others can do it flippantly, which is in my opinion, a big no-no, because it's you're disrespecting what these men and women are fighting for, what they fight for your rights. Like Jared said, we sacrificed our rights, our constitutional rights, when we signed on the dotted line and took our oath of service. So
Yeah, I'll agree with that. The I've had several people through the years uh, shake my hand and when they found out I was a vet, thank you for your service. Okay, yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. I really don't know how to reply. I don't know how to reply respectfully. It's
I personally just usually thank them for thanking me. Like I'll just say thank you back to them, but just because it feels a little bit weird saying you're welcome. I don't know. I just
yeah,
yeah.
the same thing with me too.
Yeah, and I think that's why really the group who typically ends up on this panel, we get along, because it's that similar truly humble view of it, because I didn't do it to be thanked. I didn't do it solely for the benefits. I made the decision to do military service probably my sophomore or junior year of high school. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I just don't know what branch yet. It's a family thing for me, where every male generation of my family to date has had some tie to the military and doing something for the nation. And I felt not compelled, but it was my turn. It was my chance to do that and keep the legacy going, because it was for the nation itself, that it needs the best to protect it, to ensure that it continues to go in the way that it should. And that's where I'm never quite sure how to respond to that question. It's not, or that statement of being thanked, it's not. I don't do things like that for praise. I don't look for that sort of admiration in what I do. I greatly and thankfully accept the recognition for what I do, but it's not the goal. It's not the purpose for what I'm doing. Even the show, we have a great following. We have people who watch and interact with us on a regular basis, and even without the audience, I would still do this because it's what we need. That was something that I noticed was lacking, is that having that forum for the current generation of military veterans to have a place to talk. And why not make it a little more open to the public? That way, if they have questions like today, we are here. If any of the panel members is not comfortable answering a question, they're going to say that. And it's having that avenue to have that conversation in both directions, and also for us to just kind of relax and be ourselves.
Jared, in a way, you said you needed me.
Well, guys, for me, when I started being on this panel, in terms of the issues that the experiences that I had and what it led to be honest, I was in denial of suffering from PTSD. I know the smart people told me, yeah, you have PTSD, but I just couldn't I couldn't see myself with that problem. But being here all these weeks, all these Fridays, sorry, has actually helped me. I'm finding difficult to find the correct words here, but reconciling it, or realizing it. I don't feel that it's a bad thing to have PTSD, but for some it is a taboo. Especially for the typical man. I mean, it's for some it's just a matter of having mental issues is a no-no. It's just not something that you that you advertise. I have never advertised this the ways of my issues, but being on this panel has helped me to better accept the fact that I have these issues. And just like Jared said earlier, being in war, it won't necessarily change you, but it can in many situations. And certainly for me, it did change me. I will never be the same person I was 11 years ago. I just won't. It's impossible. There are things that you just can't get over. You just have to accept them, and that's and of course not just you, Maingun. It's all of you guys. You have helped me, through these through this kind of thing. And in terms of this, thank you for your service thing. That has never happened in Denmark. I have never experienced it myself. I have never heard others, other of my friends experiencing it. It's just not really a thing. I mean, there's every, I can't even remember now. Is it September? I don't go to it anymore. A Veterans Day, so to speak, in Denmark. In those cases, you do get some recognition, but it's mainly for the soldiers themselves, or the servicemen, I should say, not for the public. The events that I went to there. But when I started, interacting with others, especially Americans, in a voice chat or on a live stream like this, the first couple of times that I got that instant, thank you for your service remark, when I tell people like that I'm a veteran and I was injured, it caught me by surprise. And I didn't know what to do with myself either. It was just, what do I do now? It's just, I mean, there's different cultures. America is enveloped in the idea of patriotism that you need to show your allegiance to your flag, for example. It means something. And it's it's different for everybody.
Well, you would have that patriotism if you were the best fucking country in the world.
There's no.
Don't get me started on that.
No. But I mean, I went down there initially to originally it was in order to go to Mob Price, main operating base Price. It has at the time it had recently been upgraded from a forward to a main operating base. We went down there so that the entire Danish contingent could come home to experience Christmas and New Year's Eve with their families. And then, because we had the security detail for the camp, that was the main reason why I went down there. But it changed when I got down there. I got hooked, so to speak. and it was no longer just for for the all the other guys to come home and be with their families. It was for myself too, because I mean, the thing that changed it for me was experiencing having lookout duty in the Sanger, as it's called, a small tower where you can look at great distances. We experienced some type of gunfight, in a village a couple of kilometers away, and then a few days later, seeing civilians from that small town or village coming in to get first aid. People that had lost their legs, arms, had huge gashes, and carrying injured kids and so on. That experience changed my perspective in terms of not just being down there to make that. It's about helping people that are oppressed by a group of people that ISIS in this case, that originated from the roots of the Mujahideen, who helped the nation to help the nation fight against the Christians, the Christian Crusaders. But now it has changed to ISIS in form of either ISIS or primarily in Afghanistan, it would be the Taliban, where they oppress the people there. They want to impose their rules, control the information, and so on. That's what I changed into, to be there for them. But these days, I don't get freaked out or freeze when people say thank you for your service. I just try to say thank you and just put it out of my mind, really. And people still notice that I'm not too I'm not all that comfortable for when people say that. But again, it's different.
For me, it's the same as Bo. In the UK, we don't tend to get this thank you for your service thing. So again, coming to YouTube and when you get some of the Americans saying it to you, it's a little unusual. And it's really difficult because for me, I was in the Royal Air Force and I was a radar technician. So I did nothing but maintain a radar in a big blockhouse with no windows. I never deployed anywhere. I never got shot at. I was very, very lucky in that. So, I have absolutely no idea what it's like to be deployed and to have to go into combat. And I'm very grateful for that. I spent my time not fighting the Cold War.
Hang on, I just noticed something. The output speakers stopped on OBS for some reason. All right, go ahead and talk now.
What?
Yep, there you go.
Yep. Okay. Anyhow, when I step off this airplane in uniform, this woman standing next to my dad, she mutters under her breath, "Baby killer." And, you know, all I know is I'm stepping off the airplane and I immediately make eye contact with Dad. And instead of him, you know, as I start stepping forward, Dad immediately turns to this woman next to him and starts reading her the riot act. And I had no idea what the hell was what had gone down until we're driving home from the airport, before Dad had finally calmed down enough to tell me what the hell this woman had said. But you know, even then, there was still that mentality. When I got back from the Gulf, the very first thing they did was give us all 96 hours of liberty. And so I went into town. I'm standing in line to buy a bus ticket, and there's a bunch of Marines in line. We're all same thing, and mixed in with us are some civilians. And this woman next to me asked me if I had just gotten back from the Gulf, and I said yes. And she said, and she asked me, "Did you kill anybody, or did you have to shoot anybody, or something like that?" And I said, "Well, I killed some targets." And she said, "You mean murder?" And I was about to show her what murder really meant. And a couple of Marines grabbed me and immediately jerked my ass back. And another Marine pulled her off to the side and explained to her what the hell was going on. And I had to get out of line and go to a bar and have a couple of drinks before I tried that again.
Yeah.
But there was still that it was a smaller subsect, but I think that's also where the thank you for your service comes from, is as most people have realized how poorly Vietnam vets were treated coming back to the States. And so this is as a swing to the other side, to show vets
A
that
counter.
Yeah, a counter to that. And unfortunately, that negative hippie mentality is still out there. It's much smaller than what it used to be, but it's still there.
Yeah.
And so
In not all that violent, but in Denmark we had the same issues of not really knowing how to take care of our mentally wounded soldiers coming home from Iraq. I mean, we have not, except for the days where we were a pirate nation of Vikings, we didn't really, go off to war all the time. So we're not a nation of warriors, so to speak. So it was in the beginning. Those type of, the way we treated, I can't speak anymore. The way the Vietnam veterans were treated in the U.S. We went through the more or less same thing when our Iraq veterans started coming home. So we had to learn that as well. And some people still from Iraq still fighting, to be recognized as wounded in terms of PTSD. It's a weird thing.
yeah, I have a hard time explaining that. I took medical retirement, is what I call it, back in about 15 years back now is when I got my 100% disability rating. And dating sucks. Because what's the first thing a woman asks you? Oh, what do you do? Oh, well, I'm crazy. I'm fucking crazy. That's why I don't work. I don't have a job. So, what the hell are you supposed to say? That's why I finally came up with, well, I'm medically retired, and let's just leave it at that. But
You could find a girl who has a fetish for crazy people.
been there, done that. Got the T-shirt.
All right then.
Probably not a
You know
good
what?
idea.
No, not a good idea.
I'm still looking for a girl who's really attracted to morbidly obese men.
Well, they're out there. They're out there.
Still looking.
I found out. I found out the hard way. A friend of mine, he put it great. He's one of the guys from group, from the PTSD group. He met a woman who has PTSD, and so she understands PTSD, and he understands PTSD, and they both understand each other. And they got married, and everything was happy, great for about 6 months. Then he shows up to group one day and he says, "Yeah, I'm getting a divorce." So what the hell happened? You two were like made for each other. And he says, "Nope. Two sickies do not make a welly." So yeah.
And no, Ellen, not that kind of Willy.
No.
We're not talking
I
about
like
Bush
Willies.
here.
Oh, okay.
And that is true. I mean, yeah, I've never been in a relationship where we lived together, but I could imagine. I mean, I had a girlfriend. I had her. We were girlfriends for. No, we were a couple.
We found out about Bo's secret identity.
We were a couple for well over 10 years. I could imagine me freaking her out numerous times when I wake up screaming from a nightmare. That would just freak her out.
My stepdad does that.
All people can handle it.
To this day, my stepdad will still. I'm not sure. Like, I know he's a veteran. I never talked to him about his service. It's just something we never really talked about. It's just always been just about life now. But like, if he wants to talk about it, then he'll bring it up to me eventually. But he has night terrors, and I'll hear him yell for help in the bedroom. And I've gotten used to it to this point. My mom's just a really heavy sleeper. But sometimes it'll be so realistic where, I'd get up and I'd go to the door and be like, "You okay?" And I'd wake him up from his there and he'll be like, "Yeah, what's going on?" He wouldn't even know what was happening after the terror.
Yeah, that's the same with me. I have no memory of them. But I've had a couple, 3 girlfriends tell me that I'll be screaming stuff in the middle of the night, and the only indication that I have that I've done anything like that is when I wake up in the morning even more tired than when I went to bed.
Yeah, and sometimes the fact that we can't, that most of us can't remember what the dream that we had or nightmare that we had was about. That some people can be trained to retain the memory of what was dreamt about, but most people can't remember. In some cases, that's a good thing. I mean,
well, even if you don't remember, it still has effect on the subconscious, and that could, push an individual into a further, state.
Yeah, but that's why it's so important to talk about it. I mean, I have a friend who was he still is, a veteran from the Balkan Islands. He has photos, rolls of film that he hasn't been. What's the word? He fears getting them developed. He's afraid of getting them developed and looking at them. That's how bad some of the things are, because he's afraid of looking at them, and as he's told me, he fears looking at them and acting on what he sees. And he to this day he won't go more into detail about it, and I don't want to ask him anymore. Just the look on his eyes tells everything. It tells me everything I need to know. Until the day that he might be ready to do it himself. Some things you just do not want to think about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some battles people have to fight on their loved one or not. You have to let them handle their shit.
Well, I mean, I've never experienced anything to what Bo or Main Gun or anybody that's been an infantry unit or anything like that. In my experience, but throughout submarine training and even on the boat, we would still discuss casualties like the Thresher and the Scorpion and whatnot. Even when I got to my boat in August of 2000, that's when the Kursk happened up in the Barents Sea. The thought of, a submarine being lost under the ocean, can freak somebody out. I will occasionally wake up from a dream where I'm actually, just going through the boat that I was on. It's all full of water, and I see the corpses of all my shipmates there, and it's something that unless you've been on a submarine, you wouldn't understand what it's like to think about something like that in such a horrible way of seeing your family. When you're underway, even if you're a non-qual and you're getting picked on by everybody else who's qualified, you're still considered family. You're just, the redheaded stepchild of the boat, but it is what it is. But I mean, I will wake up from that, and my wife is like, "What's going on?" I'm just like, "It's just a dream. Just go back to sleep." And I'll be awake for another hour or two before I can even calm down and go back to sleep.
Yeah, we
That
had
hit
one.
me.
We had a guy in.
Good.
Oh, sorry. We had a guy in group that the group was mostly, well, it was PTSD and it was service members. But I distinctly recall having one guy that had PTSD, and it was not from combat. We, like I said, I've been on ship twice, and both times was an LST. Now, the LST, not only could it move vehicles and equipment off the front of the ship, it has a stern ramp that Amtracs can drive out of and straight into the water. And when the Amtracs would be training, the rest of us would sit on the fantail and watch these Amtracs just drop into the water. And for a few seconds, they disappear. They're submarines. Bloop. And we placed bets on which one of these poor sorry sons of bitches wasn't going to pop back up. And they always do. They pop up and they're bobbing, and the damn bilge pump is just spraying everywhere. And you're feeling sorry as hell for the poor infantry that are stuck in the back of those things, puking their guts out until they make it to the beach. Unit. So yeah.
Yeah, what a like that never actually hit me much when I was on the boat until after that incident with the MAME. That was that one where we did the exercise and we almost collided.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard about that one. Yeah, my biggest thing is I didn't hear about the San Francisco collision for almost 8 years after the event actually happened. And the fact that I knew people who were on that boat when it collided with that underwater sea mountain. You know, the thought of losing, my brothers was scary. And the fact that, and to be honest, they're lucky that they only lost one life in the entire incident, because they were going, 31 or so knots, or I think is what the report was, maybe even faster than that, and colliding with the sea mountain at, 500 feet below the surface. I mean, I shared the images earlier, but just the thoughts of those types of things happening, can be kind of scary.
And it even hit me when it wasn't until I had gotten off watch then, that I'm like sitting down and it's like finally just.
Okay, and there's one other thing I wanted to say. Yes, Sunday is in the United States Veterans Day. In the UK, I think you call it Remembrance Day, is it?
It's Remembrance Sunday, which is what we call it,
Okay.
because we always we have our remembrance services on the closest Sunday to the 11th.
Right. Well, also here in the U.S., tomorrow, November 10th, is the Marine Corps birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Marine Corps!
Thank you. So if you see a U.S. Marine tomorrow, wish him happy birthday. Marine Corps will be 243 years old.
But what flavor crayons should we offer?
I go with purple.
What flavor?
Exactly. Great.
What now? Well, I mean, it's still you are still a very young country. I mean, there are countries out there that are 4 times older than you guys.
Yeah, but we still have to come to their defense.
2 centuries. Do you guys like marzipan?
You want to know what? Okay, so the age of America blows my mind because I don't mean to say this, but we're such a great country. Like, enormous country.
Please don't.
The reason why I say this is, what I learned in history class, like Rosa Parks, right? She died. What was it, Rosa Parks? Rosa Parks. She died in 2005.
Died for injustice. Yeah.
Yeah. She died in 2005, right? Like, segregation is like a person ago. And that just blows my mind. That as someone who's born, right before the year 2000.
And it does go to show just how much medical technology has advanced in the medical sciences for the lifespan to increase the amount that it has. And Jay Brown, to answer your question, well, someone has to supervise them.
Well, no, I was actually going to say, it's because everybody's heroes have to wear capes, and dress blues and dress whites have capes. So, you guys want to see what the World War II anti-aircraft looked like for each country?
Go for it.
So here's Germany, the British.
We're not seeing.
If we could see
yeah,
it,
wait.
would be great.
Yeah, you're still showing the.
Yeah, you're still sharing your presenting screen. That isn't exactly helpful.
Really?
Now we got it
Not
right.
anymore.
Yeah, there we
So
go.
here we
There
got
you
the
go.
Germans. We got the British. We got the Americans. Here's the Russians.
But they
yeah.
have had many more rifles, though. Yeah, I'm so sad that I didn't. I never took a picture of the Bofors. Damn it, surface-to-air guns, anti-aircraft guns that were nice. Were put on display at our yard when I was a conscript.
High velocity
One of
shovel.
our duties. One of our duties was every Friday that thing had to be polished. It wasn't in use anymore, but it was. I think can't remember. I think it was. What was the caliber? 20,
That's
20
hilarious.
20 millimeters or something. I think. That's a dangerous thing to put in for divers.
So, question from the chat, more towards you, Jay Brown, but I think we all
Yeah.
can go for it. What branches wear what colors of dress uniforms? Depends on time of year and the occasion.
Yeah.
Because the Air Force has one dress uniform, which is their beautiful navy blue suit and tie.
Hold on. We can do this in a visual presentation. Give me just a second here.
Yep.
Give Jay about 5 minutes. He's going to play dress up.
And actually, for Danish contingents, it can be answered in a few seconds. We don't use dress uniforms. Done.
Well, there you go.
Was that quick enough? we used to have. Of course, there's some parts of the Navy that does, but only for special occasions, and it's always the brass and not the real fighters, so to speak.
I'm just glad I never had to pay for full dinner dress blues.
Oh God, fuck that shit.
All right. So here we got
If someone wants
on
me
top
to,
the Navy and the Marine Corps. I believe also the officers can wear the whites as well.
okay, hey, number 5, that has to be a Marine.
Nope, that's
No
Army.
neck at all.
That's Army.
But
Number
there's
4
no
is
neck.
the
That has to be.
Number 4 is the Marine Corps dress alphas, if I remember right.
right.
Yeah, those are dress blue alphas. Actually, no, those are dress blue bravos. Dress blue alphas would have the medals, and there's no medals on that.
Right.
That's also an officer's uniform.
Okay, I'm really hoping that Alan is trying to queue up some pictures that you will blow those otherwise nice uniforms right out of the water.
Well, you've all seen the RAF dress uniform last week.
Now, mind you, Navy dress blues are navy blue, which most
that's
people would
what
call
they call
black.
Black.
Yep.
Yep,
Here's a good representation.
What the?
That's
Hey,
navy blue.
Yep, that's
The person in the
so you have
the person. Yikes. Go
yeah,
on.
yeah. So the going left to right, you have the Navy dress blue uniform, which is black. Army, I think it's definitely
Not only green,
enlisted.
Yeah, that's a class B, I think.
Yeah. And then
They have a class A.
the Marine version of the dress blues, that's their fancy shit.
Looks like
That's a
Coast Guard.
coastie. That is a coastie.
Coast Guard.
And then another Navy uniform over here.
Yeah, that's the service dress, which is the fucked up working uniform dressed up with medals.
The Coast Guard
quick
dress blues are actually blue. So
I'm familiar
quick-
with all 5
quick
of those
question.
because of NCIS.
I have a
didn't
quick
see-
question.
I didn't see the Greyhound bus driver uniform there.
Oh, here's Army dress variants.
This is the class A variant, and the various different trousers and skirts and covers.
is number the second to last. Is he a
He,
mounted
no,
serviceman? Or?
he was a parajumper.
Yeah.
He was a paratrooper.
Oh, okay.
Only paratroopers can blouse their dress uniforms like that by rank.
Yeah, I mean, it was the what do you call it? Boot to pant interface that just put me wrong. I mean, it just didn't look. It just looked wrong to me.
Yeah.
Still got
It's
to
kinda
wear the
funny.
jump boots in their best uniform.
But here you have the dress whites for the Navy. Here's a better look at the dress whites.
Which actually have now changed. That is no
Yeah.
longer the correct jumper.
Because they put piping on it now.
Yep, they made it
Yep.
the same cut as the dress blue, just swapped the colors.
Okay,
Yep.
the red lines on the two girls in the middle, in front, are they musicians by chance?
No.
It's just the red
Marine.
stripes. What was that channel? I'll have to look for a YouTube channel I recently.
No, the
Yeah,
Marine
subscribe to
Corps-
because
Marine Corps
did,
musicians are a lot fancier than that. Trust me.
So to answer the question Marvel Girl just put out, do women have to wear skirts for dress? No, but it is an uniform option. So when the female service members have to wear dress uniform, unless it's the formal dress uniform, the dinner dress uniform, they have to wear the skirt. That is the option. Otherwise, it's just that it's a variant where they can go with trousers or skirt.
But that's still going to be dictated by. Yes, you can, but it's going to be dictated by what your unit says.
Yeah, your command.
Yeah, it's not a personal choice. It's you know.
Well, it depends. So, like,
Any function's going to have they're going to say what uniform you're supposed to wear.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing: as your general enlisted in the Navy, you're wearing your dress uniform either for an inspection to make sure that everything is maintained, or you're standing a watch or taking part in an official function. If it is part of the official function, yes, you will be told, no, you are wearing this version, this variant. If it's for standing a particular watch station, that's where you can have your choice. As long as it is a variant of the prescribed uniform for that watch station, you can go with either one. And then and then the inspection, it's again, you're told, no, we are inspecting this uniform, this variant.
Yeah.
Here's a question. For the different branches, if you're standing watch while you're in grieving because you're one of your fellow colleagues or a family member has died in the line of service, is it allowed to wear a what do you call it? A black band of what do you call it? Can't remember the correct name for it.
I know what you're asking for. It's basically a sash on your armband. It's dependent upon the command.
Oh, there's no standard regulations for it, or
no, anything to do with the unit uniform is all done by the command.
Mm. Okay.
For those of
the command can authorize it, but you have to.
And it usually is, I would imagine.
I've just to speak from a Marine point of view, I've personally never seen that in the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the Marine Corps is concerned, I would have to give a tentative no on that. It would not be permissible.
Yeah, yeah. This is what I was saying. I'm glad I never had to buy when I was in the Navy.
But hey, let's give this guy credit. Yeah. If it is an actual service member, I mean, making HM2 and only having one service stripe, good on you.
But
no kidding.
But it did look like a
wait,
cheap
wait.
tuxedo.
Wait.
The
I
base
see.
uniform.
I see why.
Recruit.
Look at the warfare pin. FMF. That's why.
Yep. Oops. Yep.
FMS.
Yeah.
is-
Fleet Marine Forces.
Oh, hey. And what
The
about
Marines
that?
don't have medics. They take
square?
hospital corpsmen with them.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And I really hate the mini medals and mini warfare pins. They're so annoying.
Hey. It's fucking,
Hey,
it's fucking
Aviation
Lion
ordnance?
Connive. No,
I was gonna say.
that's an
Oh,
AG.
never mind.
That's AG.
Yeah, that's AG.
Flashback.
I should save this picture and send it to him and be like, "Is this you?"
No, he didn't get the warfare, and that's too many medals. Hey, a Chief MM.
This must be your dad's.
Well, just use a bad magic marker tool to
Wait a
to.
minute.
no. Well,
I see what's wrong with the uniform. Don't get me wrong, Tech.
Yeah.
I saw it.
why? What the fuck is?
Again,
Wait, is
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
deep
that's what-
dive?
What was that?
Is that supposed to be the deep dive?
No.
No, I think actually that's that weird engineering one.
Yeah.
no.
Well, I've never
Again,
personally
I-
seen it firsthand before, but
Now again, I see that square metal on closest to his solar plexus.
Oh,
The
yeah,
square.
NAM, the Navy Achievement Medal.
This one right here. Yeah.
Okay, that's an unfortunate acronym
Oh,
for
so
people not in the know.
okay, so
Sounds funny.
two questions in from the chat, both Marvel Girl. So how many uniforms does each soldier have? Initial Seabag varies depending on time of entry and also branch served, but it's a fucking lot. Second
Yeah.
question, you don't have to pay for any of the uniforms, do you? Oh no.
Oh yes, you do.
You get billed for your initial Seabag but here's
Any others you need.
and here's the thing though, every year on your anniversary of entry into service, you get a uniform allowance that is supposed to offset maintenance of your uniform issue.
Supposed to.
Supposed to.
Yeah, supposed to.
It's kind of a joke.
As
What
a
do you mean,
tanker, you
kinda?
have no idea.
What do you mean, kinda? Kind of joke? No, it's an incredibly large joke. I mean, hell, my clothing allowance was never as much as the uniforms I wound up going through in some places.
Here you go, Jared. It's a hangar inspection.
Why am I thinking
it works.
Batman?
Hey, it's an AC-1 air traffic
what-
controller.
I'm thinking when I look at that, I'm thinking Penguin from the Batman movie.
Probably should
Very
be.
short legs and low torso.
Talk about full on dig it here. Look at that. Look at that smile.
Oh god, dude!
Now that's what I've been picturing Jared the entire time.
Dude, that
actually-
that smile is photoshopped on. I'm telling you.
And actually, his stack is not much different than mine. The only problem is the specialty mark is wrong. And dude, why the fuck is your arm cocked like that when you're at attention?
Why is your head cocked over with a big ass stupid grin on your face?
He's an AC.
Because
They
it's-
don't. They just they're special children.
They're the crayon eaters of the Navy. Okay.
As
no,
a
no.
civilian, I have
You want a
no idea
crayon
what's
eater-
going
What's
on.
an
You
AC
want a
again?
crayon eater? I will give you any. I will stack any radio men against any AC. Telling you.
AC is the air traffic control.
Ah,
That should have been ATC though. That's weird.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
Radio
I know
men
that's the
are gone.
civilian term.
yeah, radio men are gone. They're all
ITs now.
No.
yeah.
Hey,
The,
IT
yeah,
or
there's
AC,
no
depending on
more-
this.
there's no more
No.
important
all the
part of any military
Oh God, it's a yeoman. No.
communication.
yeah,
But-
all the RMs were merged into the IT rate.
And then the
Okay,
subfleet, they're ETs.
No, they're
below the
ITs
Eagle-
and submarines now too.
Oh, they are now. Oh.
Yeah, ITS.
Below the Eagle, are those two feathers or are they badly drawn
They're
machetes?
They're
Quills.
The
Well,
quill.
Yeah, they're
They just look funny to be.
crossed quills.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
crossquill. It's a yeoman. Hey, my
So
dad
he's
was
a
a yeoman.
rider?
So don't.
But a first,
I don't know. I've met
but,
some
but
pretty
a first,
stupid yeomen in my day.
but a first class after just over 4 years. Oh wait, it's a yeoman.
yeah, they write
Yeah.
their own evals.
Hey, I wrote my own too. It was good
What they
practice.
call a writer in the Royal Navy.
Oh, okay. Sorry, she looks too young to be a Master Chief.
She is. Especially not with that many stripes on her sleeve. No way is she that young.
How many stripes did she have? I missed that.
Like 5.
There's like 6 of them.
A
Like
master
5.
chief?
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah.
Here you go.
1, 2.
One,
Yep, 6.
two,
Yep,
three.
6.
I was right. 6. That's almost 25 years, folks.
Botox?
Scroll up to her face? Scroll up to her face? Yeah, no.
Wait.
No.
Look at the
I
rate
know.
though. Look at the rate
Not
though.
that
She
young.
is an HM.
Hey, hang on.
Okay, you know, that might explain a little bit.
Is it just me or is that just really wrong? He's wearing earrings in
No.
a uniform. I know
No.
it's a dress
No,
uniform,
that's fine.
but still.
Those,
They say dinner dress uniform.
yeah. So in uniform, women can wear earrings. However, they have to be 2.5 millimeter ball.
Something
That's
like
it.
that. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, they have to be non-intrusive. They can't interfere with her work.
Yep.
Or his work.
Actually, in dinner dress, you can wear gemstones, just as long as, once again, they don't exceed 2.5 millimeters.
Yeah, it still has to be a stud. But here's
But you can have a single gemstone and it works.
But here's the fun part about it is, E6 and below enlisted, it has to be silver. E7 and above and the officers, then it can be gold, yellow gold. Would you translate some of the patches, stripes, and other things as we get to them?
Please.
Oh, I mean, we could sit here and do a whole show on just the Navy
Uh,
rating and everything.
Yeah, I mean, you can,
Yeah,
you
the
can
Navy-
diss the Navy,
the
all you
Navy
want, but
rank and
their
rate.
uniforms, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The Navy rank and rate system. The bane to every other service.
Yes. Yes.
Squid.
Here we go. See if I can zoom in on this enough.
Okay.
Should be able to.
Okay.
Are you
so,
sure that's all
Oh,
of them?
denied.
Ooh. Denied.
So,
Here,
just to pull up just a regular. Okay, that works too. So, all right. Since my show, I will take the lead from here. So, what you are seeing here in the middle, it's affectionately called a crow, but it is a perched eagle. And where
I'm
it
gonna scroll
says
down.
enlisted ratings below it, that is where the specialty marks that you see all around it would be placed on that patch if it is being worn on either the dress uniform or the working uniform, the office work uniform. Other than that, your utility type uniforms, the Navy working uniform, the camouflage one, it does not have the specialty mark in it. It is literally just the crow with the chevrons below, which is indicative of rank. Rank being
so
rank
rank?
being pay grade. So, what we're seeing here with the 3 chevrons is an E6. 2 chevrons is E5, 1 chevron is E4.
Yep.
And the associated rate of that person wearing it would be based on the 2-letter designation that goes with the specialty mark, and then the number for that matches up with the number of chevrons. So what we see here being an E6, that is a petty officer first class, going with the first specialty mark there, the top left, that is AB. So that person would be an AB. This is one of the odd ones where there would be a third letter, 1. So they would be an aviation boatswain's mate first class, but ABs have a couple specialties where you have an ABE, which is the equipment where they maintain the arrestor gear, the catapult equipment on the flight deck. You have ABH, which is responsible for the handling and direction of the aircraft. So that would be an ABH-1. And then different rates go that way. Most rates do not have that extra specialization that affects the rates, the rating. But GS is one of them, as you see there below the marks to the left.
Sonar
So
Tech
it's the
is one of
sonar
them.
tech.
Yep, Sonar Tech is one of them. CT is another, and AM is another. Other than that, you will see just the 2 letters. Hey, there I am, bottom left.
Yep.
And I'm a row up of you and 2 over. So
I'm right here.
That would be me up there on top, third from the left.
There's
You
Tech.
see the black in the background? Yeah, that's me on
No.
Mountain West.
Yeah. Go 2 over. Besides the parachute, it almost looks like a pizza cutter.
Which one?
Where's
This
it?
one?
Scroll down.
They
one
just
next-
moved.
Are you
Go,
talking
go
about
back to where you were
the
before.
PR?
on.
It looks like a pizza cutter, but it's a cogwheel instead. No, second lowest row.
you're talking about the MR.
This one?
Oh,
Yeah,
the MR,
What's
the
Yeah, machinery repairman.
Okay.
You know, I've never actually seen one of those. I've never seen one.
Oh, this one's
This
out
is
of date.
I have
cheaper.
never seen an MR.
Hey, that's
Hey,
hey,
QM.
that's a logistics pet, right? Hopefully.
I got QMs there. The MS is not an MS anymore.
No,
No,
they are
this
CS,
CS
Yeah.
now, yeah.
culinary specialists.
What?
And what
Oh,
they do
Jesus
is
fucking
nowhere
Christ.
near culinary.
Oh
On
no!
subsidy. On
No,
subsidy.
no. Well, some they have to. You guys are gonna
Oh,
you
come
guys
on,
go
you.
insane otherwise.
Yeah, I remember like
Before we-
I remember within 6 months of an MS coming to our boat, they used to send them. They used to send. After about 6 months, they send them off to a culinary arts school. Navy paid for it, and they bring them back.
Yeah.
So,
Here's a
but
little
that's
bit
just
better.
snubs. So,
Signalman. Missile Tech, they're the ones that deal with the big boom. The big boom bombs
in-flight
like this.
missile repairman. Gotta love those.
And we're back to the nuke map. Yeah.
little known fact
Well,
too is
boom.
actually
but
the
before
missile
that, that was you touched on the most important part. Signals.
before the missile
important
techs were branched off into their own rate, they used to be FTM.
FTB as well.
FTB, FTM, FT, and then those of us who weren't missile people were FTGs. So
Of course you were.
But- So that's just part of it. So go back to one of the dress uniform images
Yeah, let me.
where we actually get to see the full sleeve.
Yeah, let me just sit here.
And yeah,
go.
Marvel, that's
I saw
exactly
some
where we're
naughty
going.
things in your history there, Jay.
They're all
the,
naughty.
the
What are you talking
stripes
about?
for years is like every 4 years is a stripe. So basically,
Yeah.
each 4 years you re-enlist, it's a stripe.
Jesus, Jared,
well,
you
well,
spent
this is-
8 years there?
I was in for a while.
Oh,
So on the enlisted dress uniform, you have the service stripes below. And as Tech said, 1 stripe is equal to 4 years completed. Now, there is a difference in color between gold and red. Gold means you've been a good boy and not gotten caught for the last 12 years consecutively.
Yeah.
That would be the 3 stripes.
Yeah, and so that's where you can have 4 stripes. If you got in trouble in your first 4 years, you're good. You'll go gold once you hit that 12 years consecutive of no documented behavioral issues.
What's going on with the star on the sleeve?
So
On that one,
actually,
that's
Like
so,
a seagull dropping or something.
no. So this is where the
Seagull
difference
action.
between E6 and E7 happens. E7, you get the rocker that goes up behind the feet of the eagle. That is a chief petty officer. The star up the top goes to E9, which is a senior chief petty
E8.
officer.
E8.
E8, yeah.
Then 2 stars, E9. That's the Master Chief.
Yeah.
But a third star, if you happen to be the Master Chief Petty Officer, whether you're either a
Of the
large
Navy.
command or the Navy itself.
Nope.
Well,
just
the 3 stars
Nope.
only the MCPON.
Yeah, where the third star on the rating badge comes in is they will replace the specialty mark with a star if you are a fleet or force command master chief.
Here, let
At
me-
that point, you thought, but by that time, it's mostly all political. You're not what you're actually rated for doesn't matter.
let's see.
Well, is it from
CDM.
Command Master Chief was silver
Yeah.
and the replaced their rating mark, and the fleet or force was gold, if I remember.
Here we go. Here's a nice.
Yeah, that's a Command Master Chief.
This
there.
is a command master chief, and then the MCPON would have this star here and also another star up here.
And they would, and the stars gold as well, same as the fleet force. If I remember right.
Actually, it's funny. The CDM is technically an enlisted rate as command master chief because there are master chiefs who make it to command master chief that don't go to an actual fleet or force command. They still go to a rather large ship command, like a carrier, that can have that. It's not often.
Yeah.
But my
It looks like his candy bar rack is not level, or almost falling off or something.
that doesn't surprise me.
That's the dress uniform. That's actually his dinner dress. It's tough to properly mount on that because you
Oh, come
actually
on, man.
mount on the lapel, whereas the regular dress uniform you're actually mounting on the breast of the jacket itself.
Actually, it's
But
probably
it just-
straight, but it's because they mount them straight on the lapel. So
But it's a simple matter of using 2 mounting points at least, or using a weight and just a single one.
Actually, you're still
There's
looking.
the
You're still
McCall.
looking at having a. Yeah.
Hmm.
Actually, in this case, you're still looking at least 4 connection points for a rack that large.
oh yeah,
Here's a stupid question that's related to the thing I just put in the internal chat. Try finding a USMC officer smiling in a profile picture.
Okay,
Good luck. Challenge
Good luck with
accepted.
that. Try finding any experienced combat officer that's smiling by default. It
Yeah.
does not happen.
No, a guy, the guy that's the the retired Navy SEAL Senior Chief Don Shipley, who has a YouTube channel called Buds 131.
Does this count?
He put out. It looks like he's just letting one go.
he's smiling.
He
That-
put out a
that's a
video
Marine smile.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
That's the one I put in the internal chat. It's
Oh, there's
he's
a
a bit
lieutenant
funny,
smiling.
Captain.
Or captain. I
Except that
should
he's
say.
not a he's not a he. I don't. Is he actually a Marine?
Yes.
Yeah, he is. So it's a captain.
I'm talking about a profile picture, with a flag or 2 in the background.
No, so like the first one I showed you,
Yeah,
like that one.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
You don't really get tested at all the rates, Marvel Girl.
But
Oh, your ranks, yeah, you're gonna get, your ranks. You know your ranks
yeah,
early on in boot camp. You're gonna know your ranks.
yeah, rank recognition, uniform requirements, the other branches rank insignia, which officer ranks the physical insignia, the actual officer
a-
corps. It's the same insignia for collar devices, but different names. From Navy and Coast Guard to everyone else.
So here's the
Because we know
five
what we
services.
officers know what they're actually supposed to be called. Everybody else is pretending.
so you can see E1,
Nothing.
seaman recruit,
You-
private, airman basic,
No,
seaman
you
apprentice,
walk?
so on and so far. and then the various
The special.
command. Yeah,
Those were the senior enlisted of each branch.
and then here's the officers.
Yep.
So, speaking to the question from Terry, is there any features with uniforms that have been there from the past? Yes, the U.S. Navy rating badges have the actual patch that has the rate and rank on it have been around for almost
150 something years or so,
Yeah.
longer than that. Right around Civil War
Well,
time.
yeah.
It's like right around the Civil War time is when they started coming out with those.
Yeah, when they standardized them. And even then, it was through World War II, early 50s, the Korean War era, where you still had rates that wore their rating badge not on the left arm, but the right arm.
Yep.
That sounds silly to me.
Well, that's why every now and then you'll hear some of the older retirees talk about the right arm rates. There were only about half a dozen of them, but that's what it was, is they wore their rating on their right arm instead of their left.
I wonder if I can. I wonder if I do a search for it.
Yeah.
Go back to the with the officer rank insignia there.
Distinctions.
Yeah, that one. There's a story. I don't know if any of y'all have heard it about how those rankings, why they have that particular rank insignia. As the story goes, it was a second lieutenant, and they're out in the field, and he's talking to his company first sergeant. He says, "First sergeant, yes sir. How did the officer rank insignia come to be?" "Well, an old story, sir. See, when you're a second lieutenant, they give you a gold bar, and that indicates that you are valuable, but you're also malleable. The military can mold you into what it needs you to be. When you become a first lieutenant, you get a silver bar. You're still valuable, but you're not quite as malleable. When you're a captain, you get 2 bars because you're twice as important. When you're a colonel, you soar over all others, and when you're a general, well, you're a real star now. Does that answer your question, sir?" And the lieutenant says, "Yeah, but what about majors and lieutenant colonels?" "Well, sir, that goes way back. Way back to the Garden of Eden. See, we've always covered our pricks with leaves."
Damn. Nice.
That sounds like a story you would have heard from MASH.
Yeah.
Love it.
Pretty much all the officers I had to pay attention to on the boat all had the leaves. So
Let's see.
I actually got one of those gold leaves once.
Here we go.
Most of the JOs were were non-quals, so they really didn't have anything important.
Oh, here we go. Here's an old-timey picture. And I just get code. Yay.
Can't tell what he is.
Hold on. I have an idea.
Oh, this is Navy. This is what we would refer to as a
Well, no,
right
I'm
arm rate.
talking about his rate. I'm
That's
trying to
an-
figure out what
Oh,
An
Yeah,
anemic
we
bird.
can't tell from there.
Yeah.
looks like. He's a
Um,
bosun mate.
Hey Jay, open that picture again. Take the code, put it in a pen or a notepad. Save it as a text. Then convert the text to a PNG to see what monstrosity comes out of it.
Just say rename the suffix.
There we go. This might help. Oh, not as well as I'd hope, but
What are they playing with there? Smoke grenade?
A penis.
What is he holding?
looks like a bosun's mate.
Boatswain's mate, yeah.
Yeah,
what
he's
is
a
he
bosun's
holding?
mate. Yep.
Yeah, but so you see the first class there to the right? You see the rating badge on his right arm, but the service stripes are still on the left.
Well, this guy here with the grenade in his hand's also a first class.
Yeah, but because he's playing with grenades, he probably doesn't have any service stripes on the other arm.
And if he plays too much, he won't have an arm to place them on.
Let's see.
So I have a question about the
Do
default
list of right arm rates.
Yeah.
Ooh, the fourth one looks a bit Nazi-y.
The top two, top row, the two on the
MA?
right, are they,
Yeah, that was an MA.
could they be MP? I just saw inside the insignia. I saw a shield that
Yeah, so
to me
Master at Arms, MA. Yeah.
Please be.
so instead of rating, leave it as rate.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. Still.
What the hell is
Weird.
that?
Yeah, take a look at that one.
What the?
Marines.
Holy
Oh,
snap!
that does look kind of old.
Yeah, this looks like it's out of probably the 40s. Turret Captain. Ooh.
Exit
Commissary
data?
Stewart.
Oh,
Oh, that's
one captain. Let's see. What does it say? Seaman what now? Okay, I can't see it. Expert rifleman, ship's cook. Something. Bakers and bugler. What?
Okay,
These are the
guys.
old rates.
When was the last time anybody heard tell of a carpenter's mate? I've never. I didn't even know we had one of those.
Well,
Predecessor
wooden
to
ships.
damage control.
Wooden
Yeah.
ships.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be.
Well, on wooden ships, it would have made a difference. Today, not so much.
Yeah.
Now you're looking for a DC.
Well,
Unless you're in submarine.
a teenager is full of zits in the face and a computer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where
Ooh.
it's going.
Here's a fun history question that's more recent. When did the Air Force become its own branch? My grandfather was in the Army Air Force, so I was wondering. 1947.
And will the Space Force somehow be connected to the Air Force?
No.
It makes the most sense.
Well, because
It's actually going to be connected to the Navy.
They should talk to the submariners. We're already experts.
Yeah,
That
they
too.
definitely should talk to us first.
Well, the
going to the
submariners have
warfare.
the coolest boom sticks.
So, moving across the body, so on the left, the wearer's left breast is where the ribbons signifying medals go to, and the Navy goes above and below, can be the warfare pins, which I had 2 of them. I'm one of the special ones. Which
Well,
You sound surely special.
but you're not Air Force, Jared. That doesn't make sense.
but I was aviation,
Well, yeah, but
and that's where
usually most aviation rates wind up with pins for not only aviation but surface.
Yeah.
because of the
So-
potential of it's a way to try to make yourself look better for promotions if you are going to stay in long enough.
Now, the history of the warfare insignias in the Navy starts with these two right here, the submarine warfare pins.
Which we used to wear on our sleeves a long time ago.
Yep.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah, it's the same.
And then
And then didn't the divers come next?
that yeah, I think it was the divers and the pilots, the actual pilots got theirs next.
So here's one for you. I don't know how many of you have been to Bud's, but do you know what it says behind the guy that checks you in? Right there on the wall?
Nope.
It says, "So you want to be a frogman?"
Well, it makes sense because that's what they were originally called. The
And the
underwater
sad part
EOD.
of it is, it's the last joke you are going to hear between then and the time you wash out.
And we have the combat submarine warfare pin, the ballistic missile warfare pins,
The
the various.
One of the things I always found funny in the Navy too, though, is like you have the Bud's attrition rating, which is awful. I mean, Bud's attrition is horrible. But you know what training program in the Navy has a worse attrition rate than Bud's?
Nuke.
Yep.
No question about it.
It's like
see if I can-
it's easier to get through Bud's than through the nuclear propulsion pipeline.
Well, at that point, it becomes a numbers thing that kind of skews it,
Yeah.
because how many
Sure.
people actually go to Buds compared to Nuke School?
Well, you have those statistics, you know. So, I'm just talking about per capita though in this case. So.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In raw numbers,
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
of course, it's school, but
Let's look at the basics. On any Buds class, what is the maximum amount of participants or soldiers is there room for?
I honestly don't know what the initial class up size is.
Last I heard, the initial class sizes were something not unlike 40 or 50,
Yeah.
and usually they don't. And a good class gets five seals out.
Oh, that is a rare one. But all right, Marvel Girl. Another question: when do you wear ribbons as opposed to medals, or both together? This is
It
where
depends
the
on the dress uniform
yep.
situation.
This is where the dress uniform the variants come into play. Your regular service dress uniform, so your watch standing dress uniform, it's all ribbons. If you go to the formal dress uniform, it's medals on the left, ribbons on the right, like right there. So the way you would see that in the plan of the day would be dress uniform with medals. And then, of course, the dinner dress uniform, which is a different top entirely, but is still the same thing. It is then miniature medals on the left.
Here's a good enlisted one here.
But that guy in the white dress, that was a forced smile if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. So
there are different heights. That doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh, Cryptotech.
Yep. CT.
Nice.
I know a bunch of those.
So
But
So
go ahead.
for a multi-stack of medals and multi-stack of ribbons, there's got to be something with the way he's sitting to give it that skew. But the top rows match up
yes.
across the board, and then the warfare pin the primary warfare pin is worn above the medals. If you have a secondary one, it is worn below the lowest medals.
Yeah, I always found it funny. I only had one officer that qualified both, that was enlisted previously and qualified as officer, that wore both sets. Yep, because the actual Trident boomer pin is tertiary at that point,
Yes.
but could be substituted for the enlisted one. But he's like, no, I'm wearing both. And even on his coveralls, he had both pins set up on it too.
Yeah, an officer could still wear an enlisted warfare qual if they qualified it while they're enlisted, unless it's replaced by the officer version of the same.
Right,
So
which is why the officer one he wore was up here.
Yeah.
And then he wore the enlisted one down here.
Perfect example. A friend of mine was in a C school with. He did one tour. He was on the Topeka, and then he got out after his first tour as enlisted. He went OCS, got commissioned, and eventually he qualified surface warfare. So he was wearing gold surface warfare on top and silver submarine warfare
Ooh.
below.
Hey, a diver.
That's deep submergence.
That's deep submerge?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yep.
neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually, this is a good picture to show. So when you get multiples of the same award, so that top row is Navy Achievement Medal to the left
3 times.
3 times. The Navy Good Conduct Medal, which means you've done 3 years and been a good boy. He has 4 of them.
Yep, but you get the service
Or not
stripe
good
after
enough.
4.
And then the National Defense Medal, which he's had twice, which means this person was commissioned or was active duty during
Enduring freedom
91
at home.
during the Gulf War, and then maintained or rejoined in enough time to also be a part of the global war on terror.
Yep.
But still at domestic. I mean, in country, not out of country.
No.
It looks like this person was out of country as well, judging by
Oh, yeah.
what's below.
The
Well,
National
I'm just
Defense
thinking
Medal
about the National Defense Medal.
the
The National
that
Defense
one.
Medal is just basically your generic medal that almost every service member gets.
Yeah, it means you were active duty or reserve during the time of it being awarded, which was during actual military action. So your first Persian Gulf in the early 90s, the current global war on terror, back during Vietnam, Korea, and on back.
He's definitely Gulf War. I can see a
The Kuwaiti.
a Kuwait Defense medal down there.
Yep,
Or-
actually, right there. Yep.
Saudi Defense or Southwest Asia. Yeah. Yep. And the Southwest Asia with 2 stars on it. So, which is what I have. I don't know why I rate 3 Southwest Asia medals when I was only over there once.
I know, right?
The length of time there. So because I was forward deployed on a surface ship for 2 years, I actually have 2 consecutive sea service ribbons. So,
Nice.
because it goes when you are ship's company and you are forward deployed, it's every 12 months you get another one. So if you were there for
Hey,
that extended period, that's why you would get multiple for a
you
single
s-
deployment.
Well,
I have
yeah, and
3.
I was
Jay, could you stay on that
Petraeus?
explosive diagram there? Master parachutist on his left breast pocket. Then the air assault badge. The air assault badge.
He was Air Cav.
He will certainly will.
A Huey, for example, a gunner in a Huey, for
Or in an aircraft,
example. Okay.
like
More
a
than
chief
one.
transport aircraft.
Okay, I thought it still had a connection to a parachute, but I don't. Looking at it now, I don't see any parachute on it. So, okay, it just looked odd to me. But there you
Yeah.
go. Oh, hey, they
So-
made things in that.
Yeah, that was one of the things he loved doing most. Air assault is usually doesn't involve Hueys or pickup aircraft. Usually, you're talking about an attack helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
Usually,
So he was a door gunner. Or
If he was
pilot.
Huey.
What other fun ones? Ooh, that's a fun stack to... Yep, there's the enlisted air.
Oh, that's a special. What was it?
This is the command
warfare?
master chief.
Yeah, so
Yeah, this is the air warfare, which Jared would have qualified.
Yep, that was my primary.
This is the ESWAS, the enlisted warfare surface service, whatever.
ESWAS, Enlisted Surface Warfare Specialist.
Yeah, it's a second place participation trophy as far as I'm concerned.
That's because you're a subby.
I don't see a problem with that. So
Some of us that spent time on mobile surface mounted targets would beg to differ.
well, let's see. Most
You know
of
what
your
they
guys
say?
have
Shit floats.
pretty much. And I was gonna say all your guys' weapons pale in comparison to what we carried. See, remember this is a D5 with Fallout.
Ooh.
So,
Wait, and where
Big
is the
boom.
target?
place unknown. Yes. But if you must know,
I know exactly where that
You must
place is.
know.
I'm familiar with maps.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I've seen that. I've seen that area too.
Now I noticed there are 5 E's total.
Okay. Okay,
3
so
E's and then 2 big
so-
ones.
so these
So
two
let's-
down here.
yeah, let's start at those two. So that is rifle qual in the middle, and pistol qual in to the right, and he qualified as expert.
On both of
How
those.
do you see the difference?
If you look at the one in the middle, there's a third stripe in the middle.
Stripe.
Okay, I couldn't see it. Fair enough.
Yep. So now scroll up. That one is the battle E, the battle efficiency, which means the command that he was on at the time was tested and rated as the most efficient of its platform, which he was a member of a crew that got that 3 times.
Okay.
I got it once.
I'm not going to say a word.
Hey, on a boomer, getting the battle E is like, yeah, it's
Yeah, it's tough.
like the big thing.
Yeah, try getting that shit on the ground. Try getting that shit on the ground in combat.
Well, nobody cares about you grunts out there.
Well,
No, I think that
You guys
were
are
hoping-
horrible.
We were hoping to
Hey,
get it,
Jay, I
they gave
just-
it to the OK City. So
well,
Jay,
when
I just put
Yeah.
something in the side chat. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah.
while I was
Yeah.
while I was on board the Kitty Hawk, we came close to a battle E, but deck department fucked it up for us.
Oh, dare I ask how they managed that? That sounds like a story.
I don't know how they managed to not ace their evaluation, but they had one more hit compared to the carrier who actually got it.
God damn it.
So
Well,
this
I guess that sometimes that just comes down to not luck, but coincidence of where the different carriers get deployed.
And
This
which-
is-
and which-
Whose turn
which
it is.
one
It
comes
has
down forward and
nothing-
which one's got the bigger pile of shitbirds.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with where they're deployed, because as long as you are in a deployable status, you still compete for the Battle E even when you're not actively on deployment. You still go through the evaluation process as part of your workups prior to your next deployment. And
Now,
they,
okay. I have a technical question. I don't know how many aircraft carriers the U.S. Navy has, or how many different U.S. carriers, aircraft carriers you have, but do they each have their own specialties in terms of who gets deployed to a specific
so when
conflict and so on?
you're looking at individual platforms, your super carriers, your primary air wing types, so your Nimitz class, your Ford class, they're treated as one. They are a multifunctional, multi-platform air wing base. And is that Alan?
Yeah.
yeah, that is.
Trying to see which one it is. That way.
Go to sleep, little brain.
His breath.
Oh my God, we
Just to
killed
make it a
Al.
little easier. But so any super carrier can be deployed and is expected to have the same capability as every other operationally available carrier. However, when you do a search for U.S. Navy aircraft carriers, you are also going to get some of the amphibious assault ships as well. So the Wasp class is a smaller flat top. It does not have the same capabilities as the big ones, but it is still considered an aircraft carrier compared to the rest of the naval forces worldwide.
Well, are there any? This is pure ignorance, but are there any aircraft carriers that also have a what do you call it, a launch bay for for boats, or
That
like
those would
Catamaran?
those
those would
would
be
be
the assault carriers.
yeah
so-
those
Yeah.
would be the amphibs. The amphibs have the wet deck and back as well.
yeah,
Hey, Tech, what's wrong with this
Speaking of
picture?
this,
Okay,
Okay, let's see.
the submarine isn't yellow. Oh, sorry.
Why do you have BMs on subs?
No.
No, not typically.
That's why I was going with what's wrong with this picture.
Okay.
I got a question.
I was
So
still
how
looking at
long
the ribbon
until-
when I saw the anchors.
with the new introduction of the Space Force, how long until we have a space flight carrier?
It won't happen
Oh,
in the
yes,
next
it will.
100 years,
Yeah.
at least.
Fighters
I mean,
make no sense in space.
Yeah.
Fighters are stupid in space.
It depends
Oh,
on
yeah.
what,
Look at
actually
that smile.
depends on what you're doing.
Look at that
To be
perfect
perfectly
smile.
honest with you, if you've got the ability for vector thrust, fighters do make a lot of sense. But vector thrust on a modern aircraft probably not going to happen very much. Takes up
That's a
lot of
gunny.
fuel.
That's a true
I mean, you would
gunny.
have to RCS the hell out of those space fighters.
Yes.
It's just not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, that is definitely a gunny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's been through it a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, the Swick.
I know a guy that was a Swick, actually. I went from subs to Swick.
Oh, is that a gunboat?
Yes.
In Butter
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thought I saw something I could actually recognize.
Oh, there. That's a good one to go off of. So every
I was right.
every ribbon
but-
possible. Yeah. So when you get to 5, the Navy E, it becomes a Wreath D.
Put that in the YouTube chat. That'd probably be a good thing.
I'm wondering what
Now, mind you, this is just for the U.S. Navy. Now, here's an interesting thing. So if you get
I'm actually going to have to shrink it.
if you switch from Navy to any other branch, you still maintain the ability to wear the medals that you got awarded as the U.S. Navy. However, they are slotted in with their equivalent, but then behind those of your new branch.
If I remember right, it only applies to medals as well, not ribbons.
Yeah, medals, not ribbons. The ribbons end up going all the way at the end.
is there?
There you go, Jared. There's one for you.
Yep, I got a couple of those.
I have the one next to that.
This one right here?
Yeah, he's a blue nose. There is another one that I have. The Overseas. I got 2 of those as well.
Yeah.
Hey, you see the white? You see the white one?
Yeah, we don't want to see your ass.
No. I'm talking about the white one, the solid white one there.
The solid white one?
Like the background?
No. Yeah, the background, because that's why I have nothing.
So,
You're
let's see.
fine.
I have both of those at the end.
Kuwait Liberation Medal. I got that. Actually, I think I'm supposed to rate both of those Kuwait Lib medals. Why there's 2 different ones, I don't know. I
One's
definitely.
for Kuwait, one's for Saudi.
Yeah, well, I should have both of those then.
Bye,
I have
Bo.
the NATO.
I think I'm going to join.
Oh,
I think
see
I'm
you later,
going to
Bo.
join. I got a couple downloads that are killing me right now, and I'm.
Yeah.
Alright.
I
We
gotta
still
get my-
have we still
gotta
have
get
a
my
couple.
copy.
We still have a half hour before the people joining Psystrike need to move over.
Yeah. But I need
Yeah.
to get some fresh air and
Alright.
move around a little. So,
All right.
All right, Bo.
great talking
Take
to you
care,
guys
Bo.
again.
You have a
see
good
you
one,
next time.
Bo.
Yeah. Bye.
So, World War II victory. They still have
Yeah.
that one listed.
Yeah.
I have a Nuck. Let's see.
I got a Nuck, a Muck, and I think we're supposed to also rate a Puck, but I've.
To be fair, you know that there's like an 80-year-old general who's half senile still within the army.
Yeah.
True.
So he would have won World War II. He would still have that badge.
Let's see. Yep. Oh, okay, there's those. Yeah. I don't have any of the unit awards.
I have a question. So,
Goddamn shitty kitty.
so I remember seeing a picture This picture was posted within the VPC chat. Essentially, it's Nazi Germany, Russia, and Japan commenting on America's tactics, right? And simply put, essentially what they're saying is, we have no idea what the fuck they're doing, and it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And America says we have no idea what the fuck we're doing, and it just works. Is that true?
To be perfectly
No. No, there.
Here's the backside of that. Here is actually the backside of that. The reason it doesn't look like we know what we're doing is that we have never been ones for the United States has never really been one for quote unquote traditional warfare. We did have, even back as far as the revolution, we did most of our work guerrilla style.
Yeah, well, and to add on top of it, we are a slanted mindset where most nations train their military. If you lose communication with leadership, you hunker down and go into defensive mode. No, we go on attack.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because defense, the best defense in those cases is almost always a good offense. And
Well, that's
me,
what.
when backed into a corner, your average American soldier / idiot is more than capable of being incredibly offended.
Remember, target perception on a submarine was easy. If you didn't know what it was hostile.
Yeah.
Something I'd like to share that I learned.
Having nearly as much didn't wind up having nearly as much fun trying to determine what the hell was going on.
So something I'm staring at right now that I learned about on the actual on-duty just outfit, the regular barracks set, or the regular,
The working uniform.
Yeah. The flag is inverted, so the stars are forwards.
Always.
So the stars are running towards the battle.
Yep. Because that's what
Yeah.
you are doing.
And
Yep.
I think that's
Oh,
Well,
God.
specifically, the stars are positioned so they're closest to the heart, basically.
personally, I think that's a total crock of shit because it's not in the flag code. This is just my personal opinion. What I suspect happened is when the Army was ordering those flags, somebody placed a batch order from China and they fucked it up, and somebody had to cover their ass, so they made up that excuse because it's not in the flag code.
Yeah, you know what? That probably wouldn't be too far from the actual truth. Not the Chinese to give a shit about that anyway.
Dungarees. That's what I wore when I was in.
I was in the
the
last
Johnny
boot camp
Cashes.
again.
The Johnny
I was in the
Cashes.
last class in boot
I
camp to get the dungarees.
I spent most of my school days in the Johnny Cashes.
Yep, so did I.
What is that, a GM3?
And I
That
love
guy
that. I love that
or
V-neck
Pansy,
sweater.
I
That
can't
was my
tell.
favorite sweater. So
Yeah,
That sweater's
GM3.
outstanding.
Squirrel, you're
What,
right.
GM?
GM3.
All right, outstanding.
Hey, Johnny Cashes.
Not that I think we have much use for gunner's mates anyway, do we?
Nope.
I don't think we use
Weapons.
gunner's mates.
Small boys, the 5-incher. And weapons departments on other ships.
Did all the Oliver Hazard Perrys get decommissioned?
I think so. They're all gone by now.
Most, if there are any left, it's only like a handful at most. As I'm in Yokosuka, the last frigate transferred shortly after I did, and so we only have a couple cruisers, and the rest are DDGs over there.
He wouldn't be able to get in anymore.
No, he would be able to get in, but he would have to have a waiver, and he would not be eligible for any special duties such as recruiting or RDC or instructor. Because I was one of those that was still waiver eligible for all those special duties had I stayed in, because I got mine before the new nav admin went out.
So I got a question. If I'm morbidly obese and I'm thinking of enlisting, but I'm just a lazy sack of shit. and
Go
a
Air
boot camp
Force.
would- Okay.
Yeah.
Not
Go to the Air Force. You'll be
not-
fine.
not just go Air Force. Find a good doctor to give you lipo first.
Can I make the
God,
government pay for it?
I hated that. No, unfortunately, you can't.
Damn.
You know what? I liked the pants because they were thicker than the Johnny Cash ones, but I voted for the gray top, not the khaki.
Unfortunately,
Because
everybody wants.
the CNT khaki was hard as hell to take care of anyway. I never wore mine.
I miss my CNT whites.
I love CNTs. You get those pressed in military creases, and they last.
They stayed forever.
Yeah, they did.
That looks like the same khaki that
That
the Marines wear.
That is a
Yeah,
Marine Corps top.
Yep.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And the reason why they picked that is for the shared sourcing for the two branches. They posted, hey, there's the new whites.
Yeah.
They posed it as, oh, you have your option. You can service wide. Which do you prefer, the gray top or the khaki top?
There it is.
And I preferred the gray because, you know what? I'm a fucking traditionalist. In the Navy, you do not go khaki unless you are an officer or a chief. That's it.
Did everybody leave the chat over here? Or we still got questions coming?
On the menu. I'll see if I may go see if Side Strike's the menu yet.
He's posted it on Twitter.
No more questions, and you know what? At this point,
I have plenty of questions.
okay. How many of them are publicly appropriate?
looks like-
Two. Well,
Two?
one is maybe borderline not appropriate, but it has to do with porn.
So they added the piping for the white uniform, but
yeah.
not the buttons.
Not on the pants, but the top. They redid the
Yeah.
top to where it is this similar material, where it is a stiffer material now, and it is the same sleeve cut and bib cut as the dress blues, but they kept the standard fly pants.
Why? You're gonna do it. You might as well just do the whole damn thing.
You know, it was really nice when we had to wear those dress uniforms, and there was this, in training at some point, and everybody has a break, and you have a bathroom break, and line there's people trying to get out of the damn pants.
Yeah, there's the previous version
Yeah.
of the dress whites, but you know what? 21 times to say no, though. The only problem is that I wore the dress blues enough in my first year that I got really good at figuring out how to hold the top and then grab a corner and undo all the buttons in one pull without breaking any.
No. I didn't even do that. I just did the two corners and the center, and that was it.
In 6 years of service, I never wore a dress uniform ever.
Lucky you.
Not once.
Yeah, do you see that? Do you see that?
What the flying fuck?
That's our dress uniform pants.
That is.
Those were our
Wait.
uniform pants from way back in the day.
No. Oh no, those are still the pants today.
Are you gonna be kidding me?
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's also called the Marine Corps bib.
Well, when you have to piss, how
Can you
many
hear what I
buttons
was
do you
saying
have to
just a
do?
minute ago?
This is where I say you get really good at holding the top of the pants and then grabbing one of the corners and pulling in such a way that you pop
I
off
thought you
the
guys were
buttons
talking about
without
a
breaking
shirt.
them. No.
Oh.
No,
I thought you
those are
guys.
the front of the
Wow!
pants.
Holy shit!
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I only used to button this one, and then the two middle. That was it.
How much trouble would you be getting if you were to, just glue the buttons on top and then just did the
And-
rest out
and
of
then-
You
Velcro?
have no idea.
Yeah.
There was a guy. There was a guy at my A school tried that shit. Holy crap! That
What?
dude.
No. Look at the title of this tab here.
Yeah.
was-
With zipper.
And yet it takes me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait a
that's
minute.
funny.
So someone was looking for it, but they certainly didn't find it.
Wait, there's someone who installed a zipper on the side of the jumper?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? It just comes
He-
right off.
No. A proper fit dress blue jumper is tight as fuck to get on because it tapers smaller to the waist. In the proper cut.
Whole damn thing straight off. It's not that damn hard. I never had a problem with it. But yeah, in answer to the question of whether or not you get away with gluing the buttons on the top there, no, you won't. The last person the one and only person I saw try it was at my A school, and that guy wound up at a court martial.
That is
for
actually
just uniform.
that is a throwback.
Oh yeah.
Historically
You can tell
accurate
this is-
throwback, yeah.
Yeah. This is probably his grandpa's or something. You know.
Well, either way, whoever it was, he's a second class corpsman.
What's
Nope.
with the cup?
Combat submarine.
So back in the 40s and 50s, sailors stationed on the West Coast often went to Southeast Asia, where as a way to signify that they were of that ilk, they would have the intricate dragon sewn in on the inside of the cuff. That way, when
Okay,
they're
known as
out on
Liberty
Liberty, flip them open.
That's a perfect example too, because look at a sleeve. There's the old submarine warfare qual
Yep.
before they did the insignia qual.
And then the
With the
fast-
combat.
Yeah, the combat.
Yeah, that's the combat submarine.
All right, Jared. I'm gonna have to leave you.
Are you going to give parting words? Because it's about that time to shut down anyways.
Yeah.
I guess I can, ladies, gentlemen. We've had a tug of the heart, we've had the tug of the penis, and we've had a tug on all of your emotions tonight on this episode's of Veterans Talk Weekly, episode 22, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
I want to bid you guys happy Veterans Day and a intriguing Memorial Day. Till next time, see you all later.
See ya, Piggy.
Yep.
So this looks like they're.
I'm very bad at winging stuff, by the way. So
The women's version of that uniform.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. But it looks like the image is flipped too because of the.
Or is it? Because wasn't Gunner's Mate one of the original right arm rights?
It was, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, but I'm thinking it's more of the image is flipped because this is probably when they were first trying them out because you can tell how tailored it is,
Mm-hmm.
and the pants are tailored to fit the wider
fit,
hip and
yeah.
everything. So
Yeah, so
It may
probably is.
actually just be a costume piece. That would not surprise me in any way, shape, or
well, they actually when the female sailors were talking about getting the dress blues like this, they even wanted the 13 button arrangement too.
I have a question. Who the hell which women involved actually had hair that long? The last I checked, it had to be shorter length or less.
Unless you put it up in a bun and it remains the same height and doesn't
Yep.
interfere with wearing a cover.
I don't know the ladies that the ladies I always wandered around with, that hair could not quite touch your shoulders.
Is not allowed to go lower than the bottom of the regular working uniform collar. However, again, if they put it up into a bun, it still had to remain above the bottom of the collar and still not interfere with wearing any of the uniform covers at all.
This is what squirrels used to.
In boot camp, when I went through, all of the females had their hair cut to that length standard no matter what. The Navy was the only branch to do that. Every other branch, they taught the females how to put their hair up into a regulation bun in less than 2 minutes.
Oh, good old dress uniform inspection.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think
You know-
I think that Navy thing though, because of course they did it. I was in integrated companies down in Orlando, where all the women were when I was in, because they didn't have Great Lakes back then. But I think that just had to do with the same concept of us shoving our hair off.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Women were not allowed to cut their hair too short. Otherwise, it would be considered faddish. Gotta love that term.
There were a couple people that I saw go to head for masks because they decided they were just going to take the hair and just cut it completely off, shaved it all the way to the scalp. That was considered rude, crude, and obnoxious. After the first 25 of them, the captain said, "No, I don't want to see these anymore."
Oh,
All the guys that have already gotten their NJP, revoke it. Just get away from me with this shit.
and here's something. That is the extent of PDA allowed between two service members in uniform.
And he does not look happy at all.
Would you
No.
with her on your arm?
No, I wouldn't. But you know what's kind of funny? Zoomed in like this. This almost looks like Nathan Oakley.
Oh, okay. With that, I'm out.
Oh, hey, Squirrel, I forgot to ask. Did you see my comparison of Riley Dennis in your server?
Yeah, I saw it. Believe me, there was a whole. Believe me, I heard about it several times. It's like 5 different people sent me a whole shitload of PMs. Hey, do you know Jay put this up? Yes, I know.
Oh yeah, no. I kind of did it just a little bit just to spin people up because it was funny watching that, but at the same time, I didn't know what all was going down between Kitty and what's his name on Twitter. I didn't know that it got as bad as it did.
I'm not even gonna go there, dude.
Yeah.
I sat and watched the whole exchange while it was happening. No, I'm not touching that with a cattle prod. Art's not on the server anyway. I don't have that problem. Although if I was Art, I'd probably steer clear of her for a few days.
A few months.
At least the next 36 hours.
Trying to tell. I hate bad pictures like that.
Yeah.
Because it looks like that's supposed to be like air, and then this is submarine. So I'm like, was he surface officer and then went subs? Which is possible.
Actually, I think he may actually have been a pilot, fighter pilot at some
No.
point. But he's currently doing surface.
No, he could have been a. Here's the thing: pilots, once you get your wings stay on top. He could have been an aviation supply officer, who then, because here's the thing: look at the mark above the rank.
Oh yeah.
He's not a
Yeah.
line. He's not a line officer.
No, he's not.
He looks like a JAG.
He could very easily, yeah, he's not a line officer. He could very easily be a JAG. I can't tell.
Yeah, and it blurs out so bad. I hate it.
That's because the initial image is like postage stamp sized.
Yeah, I know.
Find a copy of that image that isn't a postage stamp. You probably do better.
What does that look like? That's an evergreen almost.
Could be.
It'd have to be an older evergreen because they would get attacked if they had walked on there.
Actually, that is a chop
Yeah, I was gonna say it was supply.
supply
Hey,
officer.
Jared, look.
Air crew.
It looks like he got that promotion you missed there, Jared.
He was air crew. That's why. Which you will no longer see in air crew AT. You will see that.
Yeah.
All enlisted air crew now are AWs.
Yep, aviation warfare. There's a corpsman. 2 corpsmen. The 2 right here, they're both
Yep.
corpsmen.
Yep, and they're both FMF. No wonder why they're so young in first classes.
Yeah, because they don't the survival time of FMF since it's kind of thin.
Yeah, one of my buddies from boot camp did FMF.
Here's your rate.
Hey, there we go. Yep. BM.
All right, I'm gonna clear out. I'll see you guys later.
All right, later.
Later.
See ya, squirrel.
Yep, the actual rating of being buds. So he has the trident, he has the parachute wings, and he's a operator second class.
Yeah.
SO2.
That's one raid I never saw a whole lot of.
It's new. They were just instituting that raid around the time I got out.
Yeah. No, I saw that. I mean, it's just saying, this is interesting. Comes from Korra.
Anybody
What is-
ever carried seals? We did
No.
once.
Do you really think that I would carry seals on a boomer?
Yeah, you could use a missile tube to get them out.
Actually,
That's what we did with the Michigan and
Two of
Ohio,
the-
Florida, Georgia.
2 of the old boomers that I was in, there was 2 old darn, what were they? It was the USS Kamehameha and James K. Polk were still in service. They were old
Yeah, they
part
converted
of
them
41
to.
for Freedoms that were converted to SEAL delivery boats. So,
Yeah.
OS3.
They were the only boat still in service that used the old Mark 113 analog fire control system.
Yeah. They decom both of they offloaded all the weapons and stuff for them up in Bangor. They were the first boat stationed there. Trying to find something good to look at here. Doesn't look like there's much of anything anymore.
No.
It's all repeating.
There's actually 2 guys in my C school. We had 3 fleet returnees in my C school class, and 2 of them had previously been Mark 113 techs. One of them had came from the Polk, and the other one had came from the Kamehameha.
Oh, he's making his mistake early. Oh,
Yes,
you
he
poor
is.
son of a bitch.
YNSN.
Oh, not. Oh, yeah. He probably knocked her up.
She's cute. He might just be trying to bag her before someone else does.
Yep. Nope. 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 Nope.
Way too
Wait,
young
wait,
for that
wait,
stuff.
wait, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Non-ra-
He's not
non-rated
even
fireman?
rated. Dude, you're still in school and you're doing it. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Could
Marrying
be
the high
Striker.
school sweetheart.
When I was in, I swore I was never going to get married.
Hey, now.
It's all about doing
That's a
it
wedding
at the
dress.
right time.
Hello.
Yeah, they're not going to be married for long.
Nope.
There's a non-rated seaman.
Oh,
Right.
the shit I find on the internet.
He's get a job first, you know?
Exactly. Get your feet wet in the actual fleet first.
Oh, let's see. Oh, here we go. Oh, no, that's not what I want. See if I can get any decent images. Oh, it's a powwow with the TMs. Maybe some FTs in there, sonar text too. Oh, this is the I want to say this is the bowfin out in Pearl.
Yep.
Hey, does that look familiar? Tech?
Yep. Is that a Los Angeles? Hard to tell.
Yeah, it doesn't say.
It looks, well, no.
Does it really matter?
I don't
The
think that was
artificial 18-hour schedule and lack of natural light make keeping track of time difficult. According to one sailor, you basically know what time it is by what type of food you're eating. If you're eating pancakes, you know it's morning. If you're eating leftovers, it's midnight.
Yep.
That was the truth.
But to be honest, it really didn't matter.
It was all food as far as you were concerned.
Does the actual time of day really mean anything when you're submerged?
No.
Not at all. Oh, Angles and Dingles. Yay.
Everything is based upon when your watch rotation is, you know. I'm not on watch. I don't have any particular duties to do. I can actually go and do something fun right now, you know. Oh, I've got to go to sleep. You know.
Yeah, but how often does that actually happen?
Depends on when you got to the boat. If you just got there, that never happens. If you've been there for 3 years, you probably have some free time.
I have heard. I've heard. And I'd like to know if this is a truth or not. When a sub is submerged, it's just smooth as silk. But when she's on the surface, it's just a puke monster. Is there any truth to that?
Depends on where you're at and what's going on with the weather.
In rough seas, submarines rock more than surface ships because our round hull, like the kind of the V shape you get on a traditional surface ship, kind of actually dampens a lot of that wave motion. But a submarine, like it just rolls, so it'll rock back and forth a lot more.
Sure, because there's no keel. Yeah,
right.
Just like the LSTs that I was on, there was no keel.
Yeah, when you go down deep and you're down below any of those waves, it's smooth as glass. When you're just unless you're like doing a high speed transit, then you feel like you're in Star Trek, where the whole ship's shaking.
Oh yeah, I remember those good old days. All I had flank and just.
I remember we carried when we went across on our first bed cruise. They had like done some trading, like where they had a couple people from our boat went and rode the carrier. There were some people from the carrier who come and rode in our boat. And I remember them getting freaked out because there was one point where some foreign submarine was in the path of the battle group, and they sent us up to kind of chase it away, basically. Because the subs are the guard dogs, and so we had these like carrier people just riding along, and they weren't doing anything. They were just kind of riding just to see what it's like. And I remember they were down in the mess when we were doing this because it's also kind of like the lounge when meals aren't going on. We dove down deep. We started doing this high-speed transit. Of course, on submarines, all the machinery noise, you hear everything inside. So like we go down deep, and then they kick the reactor coolant pumps into high speed. And I mean, in the cruise nest, when they do that, you hear boom, boom, boom when those things kick up. And then, so they're just down there and they just suddenly start hearing this bumping sound, 3 times because there's, 3 on each side of the loop. And within a few minutes, the whole boat's going.
Yeah, this is the SEAL.
The heck was going on.
So these are the SEAL's lockout chambers now, the old missile tubes. And this is looking aft.
That's how the egress from the boat?
For the SEALs, yeah. And by the looks of it, it's supposed to be second level. Oh, the Naga hide. Gotta love it. Naga ass sitting in those things, man.
All right, gentlemen. Well, it's about that time to call it a night on this stream. That way, those of us who are going to be on Size Strike's panel can adhere with what he wants with how early people are on. Which I'm going to flip a coin because I have parts being delivered for work at 8 a.m. that I'm supposed to install, but it's... How early do I really want to go there? I don't know. It depends. It depends on what the menu on movie night holds. And he's just about asleep at the wheel. Why does that not surprise me?
No, he's not asleep at the wheel.
It's a boomer. What do you expect?
Nothing wrong with being asleep at the wheel.
Where's he going to hit?
Ask
An
the San
undersea
Francisco
mount?
about that.
He's maintaining a particular course, and if the dive there gives him any particular corrections for his fair water planes in this case, then go up and down. But I mean,
Well,
you're not going to do
where's
much
the
turning
dive?
in between them. I think I see his head there.
No,
Maybe no.
That's-
That's
the
the
point.
other. Yeah.
that's the
Oh,
that's
is
the
that the
upward
hell?
planesman. The dive should be right there.
Well, isn't there?
There's his coffee cup. There's no chief of the
Oh,
watch either.
okay, I see.
This must be import, just staging it.
That would
See
make
the-
sense.
The tags on the chicken switches, that's what's giving it away to me.
Your diving officer's seat was that far back, so ours is a little bit closer because it was almost
ours
in between.
Oh, ours was a lot closer actually. I don't even know if this is in Ohio.
It's not in Virginia, and it's certainly not in Los Angeles because that's a lot.
That is a lot of space. So
Yeah. And that chief of the watch ballast controls is a lot bigger than this one in LA. So.
oh yeah, no, that is definitely a missile one, but that was weird. It was just weird. Oh, here we go. It's a lot of whoop ass right there.
And I think that is a good image to end it on. So for all who are watching this, thank you for coming. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to support the channel. The way to do it is in the description below. We are out.